Welcome to What's in a Game. On today's show, the Denver Nuggets are going streaking. Is it real momentum? And if so, can they keep it up? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to What's in a Game. I'm Grace Jean here with my co-host Will Jones. How are you doing today, Will, on this fine Thursday?
Doing great.
A W.
4-game win streak. Appreciate everyone who's here right now. Johnny Keen and Mad Dog, what's up to you guys? I'm sure we'll have more trickling in as we discuss this amazing streak.
It is amazing because it hasn't happened in a really long time for this team. Brendan Vogt over from DNVR pointed out that after their third straight win against Phoenix, that was their first 3-game win streak since January. They had one in mid-January while Jokic was out. But since then, not so much. And you're like, well, 3-game win streak. But I'm like, yeah, but 3-game win streak. Like, that's just stringing together, victories. And especially for a team that's had, not a lot of, consecutive games at home. This, that, and the other, but they've also been weird at home all season. So, who could really rely on that to be a momentum builder? It was just nice to finally not be on the roller coaster of they just won. They're about to lose again because they've been playing around 500 basketball for the last 2 months,
Mm-hmm. I was, I'm always invested in if the Nuggets are going to win or lose, but we've been doing more predictions lately. And I did predict a 4-0 stretch, and so I was like, please, I almost wanted to win just because that's what I predicted.
You totally did, and once again, I was totally off because I predicted win-loss because of what they've been doing.
I mean, it makes sense because that's what we've been doing. But it was this was supposed to be the stretch we were supposed to string together wins, and that's why the Memphis loss was so annoying because I felt like we would be on a longer streak if we just handled business. And even with the Mavs, it's similar to the Memphis game where second night of back-to-back, I think that Memphis game was like that, but, not a very good team, tanking team.
That sounds right. I know it was part of a back-to-back. I just can't remember if it was the first or second night. I'm looking at the wrong calendar.
Mad Dog says NBA schedule's whack, not want Denver to be good. Yeah, I mean, we're finally done with the back-to-backs.
That Memphis game was rescheduled from the one that was iced out during the really bad southern winter storm in, was it late January, February?
Yeah.
And so it had to be rescheduled, and so it added a back-to-back to the schedule, and it created a really, there would have been 2 days rest or 3 days rest between games there, but then it turned into a 3 and 4 night situation. So it was complete pendulum swing just based on that one game being rescheduled. So that was annoying. I actually don't think the previous date was even going to be a back-to-back. I think they were coming off of a couple days rest. They were traveling in Memphis, and then it was a whole thing. So that kind of sucked.
But I get out, AG wasn't in versus the Mavs, so that's always scary. But I'm glad he wasn't in, and but we won it. So I get why you called it a loss because it totally could have been. If we didn't get that Jamal crazy 3-point shooting night, maybe we would have lost. But we're going to talk about all of that, and I'm just glad. I think we're going to beat the Jazz, so I think the streak will continue. And we're taking care of business, I guess I would say.
Oh, yes, taking care of business. That's what it's felt like for the most part. Close games, maybe some that shouldn't be close, but you're still coming out way with the win. And especially compared to, say, 2 seasons ago, they won a ton of close games, and we weren't really looking at gift horse in the mouth, maybe in the mouth. It was fun having all those clutch wins, right? But it felt like they were unstoppable in the clutch, and now we're dreading whenever a game gets close.
Hmm.
especially when it shouldn't be, because you're like, you just turned what should be a certain victory into like maybe a loss because of how, I mean, not good they've been in those situations, right? They're about, let me see what the updated statistics are on Denver and the clutch, because they were below 500 like last week. Now they're a game above 500 in the clutch, but they've also played the third most clutch games in the entire league, which is a lot. Or sorry, the fourth most, 39. Um it's not good teams to play this many clutch games, except the Detroit Pistons, but we know how I feel about the Detroit Pistons. I didn't think they'd be able to keep it up all season, but they just have. We're actually tied with them for the fourth most clutch games in the league. They're 26-13 in those games, and we're 20-19 in those games. It's crazy because like I'm not even saying that Denver going needed to go like 26-13 in those clutch games to feel like great about them. But if they just won like
Well,
3 more,
hmm
maybe 4, how much different would people feel about the team? And is that really warranted given how coin flippy the clutch can be?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to get into the clutch more when we're going to talk about it more specifically and just jump into news?
Yeah, okay, let's save it. Let's hit the news items first, and then we'll jump into the clutch discussion, because I think it's really
Yeah.
I think it's very relevant to how we're going to feel about the team going into the playoffs. Okay, a couple big news items that came out of the NBA Board of Governors meeting this past week. Big one. The NBA Board of Governors voted, I assume it was unanimous. I can check the Shams tweet again, but they voted to approve uh to expand to Vegas and Seattle, and now they're going to be accepting bids from various, potential new owners in the NBA. The bids are expected to be in the $7 to $10 billion range. Just a comment on the number there. Those are huge numbers. First of all, the Lakers were basically sold at a valuation of around 14 billion, but they sold like majority ownership for, I think it was 10 to, is it 10 billion for the Lakers? To what's his name, Mark Walter, the owner of the Dodgers. I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get that right, because it's important to know who these people are, because they control the fate of so many obsessed sports fans. Yeah, Mark
Lakers
Walter.
owner. We don't want to know him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Mark
I mean,
Walton.
you do want to know him
Yeah.
because you want
Know
him
thy
to be
enemy.
cheap, but it seems like he's not. um the Boston Celtics were sold for around $7 billion, and I saw some people commenting about how like why the hell would a new team be like starting at a bid that is around what the Celtics were sold for. And some there were some very astute uh re- people in the replies pointing out that Boston doesn't own their arena, and that's a big part of uh being able to make money without being beholden to like rents and whatever, just being able to extract as much capital value out of these sports entities as possible. Otherwise, I'm sure the Celtics would have sold for not quite what the Lakers were sold for in terms of like where the total valuation of the team would have been, which is like double basically what Boston went for, but definitely higher than they went if they did own TD Garden. I think Vegas and Seattle will end up owning both of their arenas ultimately. That's got to be the assumption based on these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about those locations? I know that some like those are the two most common ones that were coming up, because a lot of people want Seattle like get a team back. But some other cities were being thrown out there as potential options. Perhaps wish casting, but I think Vegas was the one that everyone knew like for sure would be one of the two
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah. When you just look at the trends of other sports leagues in Vegas getting an NHL team and an NFL team, of course. But I think this Seattle is also, yeah, of course, a shoe-in, understood thing just because of their history in the Sonics. I mean, I'm more happy for Seattle to get their team back. Just I feel happy for them. I think the Sonics are a really cool classic franchise. Makes me nostalgic, so I'm gonna enjoy seeing them until they like take someone from my team that I don't want them to take, like Spencer Jones or something, on the expansion draft. But that's years down the line. Who knows where we will be and what players might be available.
I mean,
then.
I think the bids are going to come in pretty quickly, and we'll be looking at an expansion draft in summer of 2027. That's my
that's fair.
Which I mean is a long time from when we thought would happen, because I think people thought that the expansion process. I mean, Silver started talking about like launching exploratory committees this season, which didn't make sense to me because they've been researching this issue for years. And obviously, when the Board of Governors votes to approve that, you're like, yeah, that's not based on a couple months of research about which markets are going to be, they've been working on this. So it was interesting how long it took to get to this point relative to the new CBA. Because I think as soon as that came into play, like, because there were conversations about expansion happening before that was ratified. And it was like, well, we got to get this done. We got to get the new media rights deal done. And then we can talk about expansion. But maybe, like, I guess technically this is the first year of the media rights deal being like in place, and maybe they just wanted to see like, well, what kind of money are we getting? Like, how is this actually performing in practice before they talked about launching new teams? Because these owners are weird. They get fees from the teams that are buying into the league, but it also means they have to split the media rights pie more, like the national media rights deals. And there's all these issues with these local regional sports networks not bringing in as much money. Actually, there was another like mini news item that the salary cap first apron and second apron numbers, which are all tethered to each other, are all going to be around $1 million lower than previously projected because of basically shortfalls relative to what they projected in terms of income from these regional sports networks. So that's another thing that like maybe certain current owners were thinking about, and maybe it was like a thing where they wanted to like Silver in particular and the other like kind of executives in the league office didn't even want to bring up the issue if there was going to be any kind of contention about it. So they wanted to make all these very conservative in terms of like how they conduct their business. NBA owners feel like very at ease with like the situation that like the league is in, that their teams are in, before they introduce the possibility of like changing that. Because you don't want, even if you could get a majority, like you don't want discord among those people if you're Adam Silver. So that could have also explained some of the like slow dragging relative to like at least my expectation, the expectation of I think a lot of people with when the expansion process was going to start. So at this point, I would be very surprised if we weren't talking about having an expansion draft by summer 2027.
It's one of those things where it's not necessarily immediately beneficial for the owners, and it's more for the fans. Like there's just two more markets where the fans are going to get there. But in the long run, will it create better opportunities? There's other markets being involved.
Also,
more teams, more games, more fans.
The other immediate benefit is to the players. That's more competition for their services, right?
Yeah.
That was something that I thought about last summer or like the summer before. I can't remember, because free agency has been kind of weird, and there are certain classes of players that have benefited under the new CBA, as I've tried to talk about. It's not like, oh my God, across the board. Like a lot of people kind of talk about like the NBA middle class is like one lump entity, and it's not. There are different classes of players that have benefited and other classes of players that have been royally screwed, especially young players going into restricted free agency, for example. But one of the things I wondered was, when the Players Association agreed to this new CBA, were they thinking that expansion was closer on the horizon than it ultimately has been? because ultimately the windfall from that is almost greater than any singular provision in the CBA, because you're talking about when you're talking about the salary floor, just like if those two teams only spent what they have to, that's an additional, saying it's not going to be next year, but like the year after. Next year, the salary floor will be $140 million. So that's an additional 280, almost $300 million flooding into pay like this, this like artificially limited number, like group of NBA players. And that would be a bigger windfall than any singular provision in the CBA. And I feel like that's just a guess. I have the total hunch. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in some of the like conversations that were happening in the Players Association, both in the immediate kind of pre-ratification of the CBA meetings that they were having, and also in the year after, and whether the question of like, so like when is expansion going to be happening anyway? I would have loved to know if that was like part of the calculus for giving up some of the concessions that they did just to get a CBA done, because it would have led to this, but it took longer. And
not sure. But speaking of the Players Association, they had some thoughts about the 65 game rule, which seems like Adam Silver shot that down, but he is very adamant he's going to fix tanking. He's going to fix tanking, but not fix anything else.
I was very much not a fan of the way that Silver framed the poo-pooing of the Players Association, kind of launching I forget the exact wording, but they were basically like petitioning to change the 65 game rule. I don't think they were trying to eliminate it, but maybe bring it down. I heard or read some figures circulating that it was like make it like 58 games or something. But according to Tim Bontemps, who was covering the Silver presser at this, I haven't gotten a chance to watch it in full. Silver says that the league will, while the league will never say it won't negotiate with the NBA PA, they're not going to negotiate with the NBA PA. Like, I was like, that's a weird way to frame it, because they're not the only party that has been interested in changing this, even from its inception, right? Like, there were a lot of people that were like kind of rightfully very deeply skeptical of this rule because of what it would have meant for players kind of trying to play through injuries, et cetera, to try to qualify for awards that are tied to salaries. Fans are interested in it, not because they care about like the salary part of it, but because like these awards matter for like their favorite players' legacies, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to like just comment on that too, is I don't remember where I was on the 65 game rule, which means I probably didn't feel that strongly about it one way or another. I think by the end of that first season after it, where it was like Halliburton probably shouldn't have been playing as many games as he was, like down the stretch of that season, that the Pacers had. Not, this wasn't last year, but the year before. So obviously like Hallie's going to play like deep into the players like they did last year, but it was the season before when he was trying to qualify for third team All-NBA, because it impacted his ability to get a Supermax contract from the Pacers. Actually, I don't even remember what the conclusion of that was. I think he did get third team All-NBA that season, did he not? I'm just going to check the Pacers cap sheet real quick here.
I don't remember.
Not a super max, but I guess it would have been the rookie scale max, the 30%.
Yeah, I feel like he got screwed out of something, because that was a big discussion point. Like he did lose something, I feel like, but
so he wasn't super max eligible, because he's definitely not on a super max contract. So I think ultimately he couldn't, but he also like, I remember down the stretch of that season, it's like, he looks horrible. Like, get this man off the court. And I think maybe ultimately he missed the cutoff, but I think he did. Yeah. He was trying to play through it. And I wouldn't say the team was trying to make, because they didn't have any incentive to like make him, but they were trying to like, fulfill his wishes and whatever. I think by the end of that, I was like, okay, this is dumb. Especially the part, like the rule itself isn't, but like how tied it is to earning potential is, especially because a lot of the times these incentives are tied to specific contract years, right? So you have to you have to get an award like a particular year. I think that's something that they should try to go after more. Where, for example, J-Dub makes All NBA last year, but it doesn't matter for his contract extension because it wasn't in like the last year of his deal or something. I think that like the Rose rule, the Derrick Rose rule, because his earning potential was also limited despite his MVP season because it came in at the wrong time. Like, I think that should be something that maybe the Players Association could go after too. But also the rule itself, I think, is annoying for fans because we're like,
Yeah.
bro shouldn't be on the court right now. He's trying to meet this arbitrary threshold, and you have to have an arbitrary threshold. Like, that's what the rule is for. If you're going to have it, like, there's going to be a number, right?
I think
the question is like what that number is.
It should be easier to find a number that's more common sense. And we almost got to the point where a lot of the top guys who were going to be winning these awards were all going to be ineligible. Like, they were all kind of like trending that way, and it was looking pretty bad.
We're going to talk about Jamal's All-NBA case, and there are so many guys right now that are 1 or 2 games away from ineligibility, but are right on the cusp.
It's just annoying too. The league's not really doing anything to help these players get through the season with the scheduling and all that, and then like they're being punished more. So like, like the players should put out a statement about it for sure. And like they're almost unwillingness to entertain it, and like just the verbiage and like the way they responded shows that they aren't very interested in hearing what they have to say. And I don't know, Adam Silver just seems more and more like a conduit of, which is his job. He's a conduit of the owners, but just so much less so, with like less direction. And the owners are just coming across like very grumpy old people, crotchety old people. Yeah. And it's not fun.
Since we're on the topic of the schedule, I don't know. I'm sure we've brought it up on the show before. Like, one of the major things that a lot of people would like to see that are not the players or the owners is just shorten the schedule. But that's never going to happen because they don't want to lose out on the immediate money of just the sheer volume of games that they get money to be televised. The thing is, like, I'm like, could we just get rid of some of the non-national TV games? Like, why? I guess that, like, they bring it, there's still like ticketing revenue and all that stuff, but that's not going to happen. And that is both a function of the owners and the players, because they are in lockstep with each other in terms of this revenue sharing agreement that they have. Oh, and now that the WNBA Players Association also has with the WNBA, now that they have revenue sharing, although it's not the 51-50 split that the NBA has. I think it's like 20% revenue sharing for the WNBA. So shout out to them on getting that. But so the players are in lockstep with ownership on the volume of games. The players are probably should move to a scheduling model that is more similar to the NHL, where they start, was it like 2 weeks earlier, and they have fewer back-to-backs.
Yeah, just make it a little longer.
And just make it a little longer, but they don't want to extend, or they don't want to shorten their off seasons. But that's kind of like, because I'm always trying to watch the Florida Panthers. I'm like, man, this team like never plays 2 games or 2 days in a row. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's it, because NHL starts earlier. It's not that they have no back-to-backs, but they have very much fewer. Like, you're not going to have a season like Denver had this year, where they had 17, or originally scheduled as 16 back-to-backs. Despite hockey having an 83 game season, they actually have one more game than the NBA does. But this is like just to talk about like the incentives involved here. It's an issue that isn't just an ownership issue. Like, it would require more wholesale kind of buy-in for like a major shift from the players as well. I actually wish I'd read because Fred VanVleet did this whole interview in the New York Times about being the new president of the Players Association, and I have it's one of my like 50 open tabs, and I need to read that article. This is just from like last week. To see, he's been very critical of the Players Association. I'd love to know like more of the details about that. Snoozer 83 is such a gross number. It's prime numbers.
It's a prime number. It is a lot of games. I just wonder how the schedule is going to change with expansion and moving one team to the east, whoever it is, and
please be Minnesota.
I know.
If it's freaking Memphis, who's just sad again, like I'm just gonna be so disappointed.
Yeah, I've also heard people say New Orleans as a possible one.
No,
but they're also sad.
New Orleans
send one of the good teams,
our
please.
Tanking team.
Yeah. Speaking of our tanking teams, yeah, like I also just don't care as much about fixing tanking like Adam Silver does. I think it's a little bit for sports betting purposes, which I don't like.
It's not a little bit. It's the entire purpose of putting the full force of like all the focus around all these anti-tanking measures. Because nobody else cares. Nobody else cares what the hell the Utah Jazz are doing, except Utah Jazz fans. But they've never cared about them. And they still don't care about them now. They care about the people that are betting on the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, and so it's just so annoying that that's where the focus is. Because just for the wrong reasons. But I like playing tanking teams sometimes, even though they're still close games for us Nuggets for some reason. I mean, look, you have tanking teams, have them play the Nuggets. It's going to be an exciting game for the fans.
I wonder, because the league has a little bit more control in some of these situations. And some people have talked about like, hey, like, are we going to start stopping the sports books from offering bets on unders, for example? I know other sports leagues do that. That wouldn't totally solve it, because if you're able to bet on overs, you could still get angry because the Jazz are just like sitting guys in the fourth quarter or whatever. But that was more a proposal to try to make it harder for there be less of an incentive for like players to potentially get involved in these gambling schemes, because it's like well, hey man, if Malik Beasley is gonna get involved in some BS, I want to see him have to sprint the floor 90 feet to get that last rebound than the opposite.
I think that the new Vegas team their name should have something to do with, advocacy for sports gambling issues, so that we never forget.
Like what?
Like, the Jonte Porters, the Vegas Jonte Porters, the Vegas Aspiration. That's not sports gambling, but, corruptness of the NBA. I don't know.
Vegas is going to take a stand in corruption. I'm curious about the new potential owners. Oh, I forgot about this part. I think LeBron was asked more recently about his interest in the Las Vegas money lines. I like that one. About his interest in potential Vegas franchise, and he's like, I'm focused on the game right now, this, that, and the other. But other people have pointed out that his business partner also not interested / involved in that. And my first reaction to that was like, oh, he's just never going to retire, because I had been pinning LeBron's retirement date to whenever the expansion bidding process was supposed to start, because you can't be a player and an owner.
Right. Yeah. For the bidding. And that's starting this summer.
But if LeBron's just given up on the idea of owning an NBA franchise right now, a lot of people have pointed out like, well, LeBron's like really rich, but he's not like this kind of rich. But like, you can go in with institutional investors and deal with that, and he could be like the face of it, kind of thing.
I bet you that's what will happen, but just
which
later.
Is like that's what A-Rod and what's his face did for the
Tom Brady.
Well,
Tom Brady did that with the Raiders.
Well, yeah, but I'm just thinking like NBA specific, because we have slightly different rules than the NFL, and I don't know all those nuances, but I know I think in the NBA they're a little bit more strict. But I know like Bloomberg, like Michael Bloomberg is like one of their backers too. And
I
like him and
wonder.
his like hmm?
I wonder if NBA owners will be resistant to LeBron joining their group because, like, they're worried he'll be too hands-on and opinionated, and like, unless they just like
You
LeBron
mean
and they think he has a good
like the
basketball
current
mind,
owners?
or whoever buys the Vegas team if
Or
that's
you're
where he wants
talking
to go
about
into it.
okay, like the
Yeah,
ownership groups that go in on
because they're going to be
I
like
mean,
really
sure.
rich, crazy rich,
Yeah.
insane loser people. So
Egomaniacal.
they'd be like, I don't want LeBron involved. I want this to be my thing. Like, if
I was
LeBron comes in,
thinking
it's
it'd
going
be
to
a lot
overshadow
more
me.
like new money guys that he could get involved with that are just like, oh yeah, I want to be able to say that like LeBron is my bro and like LeBron James is my business partner, like those kinds of guys, like
I
Robert
guess so.
Herjavec or something. The one from Shark Tank who always goes in on any sports related pitch and is always sad when they go with Mark Cuban instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are our current thoughts on expansion. We'll continue following that story. It'll be very interesting, especially as we head into next season, leading up to an expansion draft. We'll talk about all the implications for rosters, for the league, for salary cap, and all that kind of stuff. The other, just like on the last point on that is a lot of people are like, well, we don't have like look at how untalented teams like the Wizards and whatever are. Now you want to spread the talent out even thinner by adding two new teams. And I'm like, yeah, sure, but it also means that players get more money. And I don't care about the bottom of the league fundamentally. I just don't as a fan. I care about my team and I care about the other good teams. So I don't know why you're like people are so bent out of shape of like, no, I have to watch. I'm like, you don't have to watch the Wizards, actually. I choose not to.
What if your team is the Wizards, though?
You know what? I never hear Wizards fans complaining about this stuff. Because the Wizards are like, we know we're bad. We're obviously tanking because we're trying to get AJ Dimanza. Like,
yeah, some fans want that.
You know?
Yeah.
So like I don't think the fans of these actual teams are as bent out of shape about the bad teams as outside observers are. Okay.
Yeah. And the Seattle just won a Super Bowl and now they're gonna get a basketball team. Like, damn.
I think Shams said, I think it was last week, that if Seattle got a team, which now it seems like they're definitely going to after this vote, OKC was gonna have to cede their Seattle history back to the Seattle team, which I find interesting because I wonder like how they decide who does that. Like, I mean, does Denver didn't have to give theirs back to Houston? The Lakers didn't have to give theirs to Minnesota when they got a new team. So I just kind of wonder what the like. It seems like that's like the agreement.
Oh, it's already in place.
Yeah, let me see if I can find.
That's amazing.
This was a Shams alert. Like it wasn't. People saying this should happen.
I saw some articles and people talking about how that would work. I didn't know it was official, but that's great.
See. Oh, there was that terrible injury news. The Players Association put out a statement about the Giannis with the Bucks situation, where like they want to shut him down, but he wants to play. Man, Shams just gives a lot of injury updates, like guys being back. It's funny because it's literally like Cade Cunningham, Jalen Williams, and then it's like Peyton Watson.
Oh man.
I don't think he ever reports on other bench players being back from injuries. Anyway, I'll find it. We'll talk about it on the next. Oh, here it is. Okay. Oh, no. This was about the vote that was about to be held. I'll find it later and we'll talk about it. But it seems like that was decided that that's what would happen. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's just funny if OKC, you know,
OKC's probably like, whatever, like we just won our title, like we're keeping that.
I hope that's what they think, but I feel like the media and the fans don't want that because, you know, they want to have the glory of being this franchise and whatever. It's annoying,
Yeah.
but I'm glad Seattle's finally going to be back. So yeah, let's get into Nuggets. Let's get
into the Nuggets. All right, segment 1. We got to talk about this win streak here. First of all, they're on one, which has not happened in a long time. They haven't won more than 2 games in a row since mid-January. But they just won 4 in a row against Toronto, Portland, Phoenix, and Dallas, which included 3 clutch games and a blowout against Portland. The one against Phoenix shouldn't have been a clutch game, and neither should, especially the one against Dallas, because they were up 18 in the fourth quarter, and then it became a 1-point game. Well, I don't think I've ever seen a team, regardless of the outcome of the game, I don't think I've ever seen a team so consistently good at blowing double-digit leads as the Denver Nuggets this year.
A team better than the Nuggets at blowing leads.
At blowing double-digit leads, regardless of if they ultimately win the game or not. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it, to be honest. And the closest recent comp that I've got is the 23-24 Warriors, who famously blew an 18-point fourth quarter lead to the Denver Nuggets on that Jokic 50-foot game winner, 45-foot game winner. But that Warriors team consistently blew massive fourth quarter leads that season and ended up in a bunch of clutch games that had no business being there. That's the closest comp that I've got, and I think this team has done it worse because I think this team is way more talented than that one. They've been up more than that Warriors team was. I've genuinely, you didn't watch the game last night, but you've seen a ton of the other.
I've seen it.
You didn't watch the game live, but you've seen it throughout the rest of the season. And genuinely speaking, that was my analysis watching the fourth quarter. Is I don't think there's ever been a team this good at going up double digits and then blowing it.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like a Nuggets lead is never safe, and I felt like that for many, many years. I don't know what team actually does it more because I don't pay attention to them as much. But
have you had the pleasure to observe a Nuggets team that was this talented and good at building up leads that were this big?
Yeah, JMK says the Rockets, who just did that to the Timberwolves.
That's true.
But I don't know. I guess it's true. I mean, I always feel like the Nuggets do this. That's just how I always feel. But you're probably right. It's worse this season, maybe just because of injuries and all that. But it feels like every game is a clutch game.
I think you're right that it's an ongoing tendency of this team and this core, but it feels magnified because they're still doing it despite having the talent to go up big as consistently as they do in the first place. Which is not always the case, even in good years. I think 23-24 was one where they led for a lot of games, but it was one of those things where starters, bench dynamics was somewhat different than it has been for parts of this year. Whereas this season, it kind of doesn't matter what they've found a variety of ways to do it. The starters have had bad stretches, the bench has had bad stretches. The bench has been awesome at times. The starters have been awesome at times, but pretty consistently they're building up these. At one point early in the season, before the injuries really started to pile up, didn't they join an upper echelon of 2 or 3 teams ever that had held 12 or more point leads across the first 30 games or something? And all of the other teams that had done it as often as Denver had won the title, but they hadn't. But Denver's record was not reflective of that because they would blow them or it would go to the clutch and they'd lose in the clutch and that kind of thing. But it was well, the talent to go up that big in the first place is there, but the ability to keep that up and at least not. I'm not saying to oh, you gotta turn a 15-point lead into a 30-point lead, but can you just not let it become a 2-point lead?
Game?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about this in in the context of something that Matt Moore has been saying on Locked On Nuggets, where he doesn't like the way that the numbers show how Denver does in quote unquote high leverage possessions. I don't know how this website called Data Baller determines their leverage calculations. I think it's based on like how a particular possession affects win probability, but there's like a whole separate algorithm that goes into determining what a win probability is at different points in the game anyway. So it's a little bit elusive for me to break that down further. But the point is Denver doesn't do well in these like high leverage possessions. And high leverage doesn't always mean in the clutch, like possession by possession. There are also possessions, for example, where you're up 22 and you could turn it into 25, but like you miss the shot or you turn the ball over and it turns it back to 18. Going up 25 would increase your team's win probability, especially late in the game, by a lot. But then, you get this swing and that's like, okay, they're still like kind of hanging around. And then the team, usually our opponent, gains some kind of momentum and is able to erode that lead even further, for example. And that's what I saw in this Dallas game yesterday. And we are going to focus on the positives of this game. And I don't mean this as a like screed against the Denver Nuggets, because we're also going to talk about like the clutch issues and how real they actually are. But I wanted to talk about this like character of this team in terms of like the blowing leads part, because it was endlessly fascinating, because that Dallas game was not one where I never felt like, oh, they're definitely going to win this game until like very late. And I mean like last 2 minutes, like fourth quarter, even when they were up 18, I'm like, all right, guys, got to hold it. And then they didn't. But I also wasn't, I didn't have like a super negative emotional attachment to a loss there, because it's like, well, they just won 3 in a row. It's a back-to-back, blah, blah, blah. I was kind of expecting a loss in this game anyway. I didn't expect it to look like this, but as we've established, this team has found a variety of ways to lose this season. So I don't mean this as a like, oh my God, this team is like totally cooked and I'm out on them and that kind of thing. But I just find it fascinating how often they've put themselves in this position where we talked about like, oh, they've been able to win a few more clutch games recently. But like 2 of the games, arguably, of the last 4 that were clutch wins shouldn't have even been clutch games in the first place. And that's like where this dynamic of like blowing large leads, I think, comes into play, because we've talked so much about the clutch dynamic and not as much about like why they've been in that position so often in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, we were going to talk about the clutch next, but this goes into it, and that's what I wanted to say about the clutch was, some people don't put that much stock into the clutch, and because it is a little bit coin flippy, like who gets the last possession of a clutch game and does it go in or not? Like we saw with the Suns, Booker didn't make that shot. But when you put yourself in that position over and over, you're just more vulnerable to something crazy happening and you losing the game.
And just to contextualize that, even like the king of clutch, like the team that was the king of clutch games was that 23-24 Denver Nuggets team. And they were 26-14 in the clutch that year. Like they still lost 14 games in the clutch. Only won 6 more coin flippy games than this team has.
Yeah, because we're 11-6, I think.
It felt different than that, because it's like, man, we've been dealing with blow after blow after blow. And they played a decent amount of clutch games that season too, but they also didn't have like the same kind of alternating like bench dynamics. The starters were more consistently good, and it was like the bench that was blowing stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But,
we got
just to make your point, but you can explain.
Snoozer and Dahlia and Z May just in the chat talking about, are they coasting? They're not maintaining their intensity, complacency, waiting to turn it on in the playoffs. And I think that's definitely part of it. Once we won the championship, it just has felt like we've just wanted to just skip to the playoffs. I think that they're a hungry team, but they're just ready to see what they're made of against the best teams in the playoffs and if they can make that run. But the problem is, so much has to happen before the run, and injuries happen during the season, and you have to manage your energy levels during the season. And a lot of people have been theorizing, is that what Jokic is doing this season? Is he focused way more on conserving energy, and then he's going to turn it on in the playoffs because he knows that's what it's about? And it could be. We usually do flip some kind of switch in the playoffs. I mean, most teams do, just by nature of it being the playoffs, and you game planning more specifically for a team, and you are playing your best players more often. It's just more intense, it's more physical. It just kind of happens automatically. But can we turn on the switch where we're eliminating all these things that are giving way throughout the season, or that are explaining these lead collapses, whether that's injury or being tired from a game last night, or we didn't have AG because we're managing his minutes, and we didn't play any good defense because we went to bed at 4 a.m. last night. Like, those kind of things will be gone. And it just seems like,
I'm not even going to talk about the
giving.
defense from the Dallas game when we get to it, because there was so much good offensively, and defensively I was like, they're just literally trying to like crawl to the finish line of this game.
And I mean, they're getting older. I think they're not like super old yet, but they are getting older, and I think they do because
act
of that,
like a team that's older than they are, though.
Yeah, but I do think it's like mentally older, where they're like, I've done this for 11 years. Just get me to the playoffs. I'm so sick of the grind of the regular season. And it's partly why they brought in new players. I mean, every team needs new players and more depth. But like, we talked about the energy kind of being stale last season, and that's why Malone got fired and all this stuff. Like, they needed a spark. Now, they have their spark last playoffs. They're slogging through the season, just trying to survive. And hopefully the playoffs will just be a spark, because it's like the basketball that they're all waiting for, which is kind of what I'm thinking. But at the same time, I feel like there's more urgency. Like, people have been talking about this. Last season, there was no like effort. We were talking about that all the time. This season, I feel like they know that they need these wins right now. And it could be, you could look at it half glass, or like a glass half full or empty, depending on your perspective. But they're winning these games because they know they have to, but like you're saying, they're kind of losing these leads, and they've all been kind of close, and we play down to our competition kind of in a way, I think. Also, it's a hard thing to like pin down and describe, for sure. I mean, I don't know why we are in all these clutch games, and it felt like even last season it was like that. Every game was coming down to the wire. We were just winning them more often. So
yeah, last year, so the 23-24, they played 40 clutch games, so around probably where we're going to finish this season. It just felt like this year, this team with this collection of players shouldn't have had to be in that many. We know they played a lot of clutch games in 23-24. I'm going to last season now, because they were better in the clutch last year, but I just want to see the number of games. All right, they played... they were 16th in clutch games last year, 37, tied for 16th. So around like middle of the pack in terms of the number of clutch games. I mean, everyone's going to play some, but for example, even like the Thunder played the fewest clutch games last year. They played 24 clutch games.
Well, I mean, how are you feeling about the clutch? Are you putting a lot of stock into it? I don't care as much about it.
Let's talk about the clutch. Let's talk about if it's real. I think that like throughout this season, like we've wanted to see them be better in the clutch for sure, but I've kind of been a skeptic of how predictive clutch basketball can be especially in terms of translating from regular season to playoffs. I know a lot of people place a lot of emphasis on it because Denver was so good in the clutch in 22-23, and then they were so good in the clutch in the playoffs as well, and it led them to a title, etc. And it wasn't just the clutch; like they had a lot of blowouts in that run as well. I think people maybe forget that a little bit. But they were like, it was obscene. They were like plus. I actually want to bring up the numbers because I was looking at it the other day. So we talk about the per 100 possessions stats, right? And in the regular season, in 22-23, as soon as this page loads, the Denver Nuggets were plus 10.4 in the clutch, right? That's really good. That's like the net rating of like an incredible team, and they ended up winning. They were 22-15, nothing crazy, but like several games above 500 in the clutch. That's around the same as they were last season. By the way, it was 21-16. 23-24. Now that was the insane clutch year in the regular season. They were plus 24.5 net in the clutch. So they were the equivalent of like the injured Oklahoma City Thunder in the clutch, which that team, they just tend to be better whenever they're missing one or two players. Not like when they're missing their full complement, but when they're missing one or two players, that team is like obscene, right? That's why all their staggered lineups like kill teams. So that's crazy. Last year, I don't think it was quite as good, but they were still winning. They were plus 17, so still really good, right? This season though, and it's primarily driven by one side of the ball, as everybody can probably guess. They are negative 11.5 net in the clutch, which they haven't been, I think, negative in the clutch maybe since I can try to go back and like find it, but
nah,
Denver's been at least a good clutch team. Like they weren't great in 21-22. That was what the year without Jamal. They lost a lot of close games. That season they were only plus 1.5 net. But they were still like 23-17, so still had a positive record in the clutch. That was that Jokic's? That was his second MVP season, right? But yeah, this season primarily the issue has been the defense. There's been some issues offensively where they're not shooting lighting teams on fire offensively in the clutch like they have in the past. But honestly, the clutch defense has been a big driver of their clutch success in past years too.
Yeah, right? Like we always saw like these games where the defense was horrible, but then when the clutch happened, they were like, oh, they're playing defense really hard the last 5 minutes. And we were like, that was good to see. We saw they can do it. They can play defense.
And not just hard, but like, oh my God, the level of execution here is like absurd. Like the other team was being suffocated here. It wasn't just like effort, but it was also effort.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just not really happening as much this year. And also kind of like we saw last night where the goal was just to outscore the Mavs and they weren't going to stop anyone ever and ended up winning the game. It's different than locking down on D, but when you are susceptible to, it's basically a shootout because you're not going to stop anyone. I feel like the clutches for this team is going to be even more wild because I felt like, I mean, the players have said it and you can agree with them or not, where they're just kind of waiting for their own shots to finally start falling in the clutch and for the other team to miss a shot, whether or not they play good defense on that possession or not. Sometimes a player, obviously you're gonna be better off contesting a shot and not giving them an open shot in the clutch, which we do often, but sometimes people make contested shots too. And I don't know, I'm more with it being kind of fluky. I don't care about it as much. I don't think it's a sign that it's the Nuggets being mentally weak or anything. I just think they don't really care about the regular season and they don't care. They know they're not going to get the 1 seed because the Thunder are insane. And I feel like they're going to try hard enough. I mean, I'm not trying to make them sound like they're like skirting by and trying to be this like lazy team, but
I mean, why not? Because that's like what
they don't want to make the play in, so they'll lock it down to the point to where like, hey, like let's get a 4 seed or a 3 seed and let's like close out the season strong. But let's not strain ourselves like we did that the season after the in the title defense season where they like really try and like work their asses off to get the 1 seed and then kind of flamed out in the playoffs. So I'm going to trust that this like energy saving and complacency and Jokic complaining about the refs now, like get it all out now, because once the playoffs come, there's no time for that. And I don't think they will do that. I think they'll be ready and excited for the playoffs. So
I do think I generally agree with you that it doesn't matter as much. And it's not just Cope. because I started to become like I've been like inching towards becoming an anti-clutch truther or clutch truther, however you want to define it, after the 23-24 playoffs, because this was a team that was excellent in clutch throughout the season. You know, was it 26-14 in the clutch, had an excellent net rating there, just killed teams in those games. The ones they lost were really due to like if they'd had one more minute, they probably would have won. And it was like that like starters bench dynamic. We get into the playoffs and they make it through that round one series against the Lakers. But you look at the stats on that series, they were allowing, I think, 140 points per possession scored on them in the clutch in those games. But the Lakers were being flambéed by Denver. They was like 180 or 200 clutch rating net or offensive rating for Denver in those situations. And it was interesting because that season, especially, their clutch dominance was largely being led by the defense, and that did not translate a lick into the playoffs. And then obviously we saw them lose 2 clutch games. Is it 2 clutch games? Because they lost game 1 against the Wolves at home. Then that was a clutch game. Then they got blown out at home in game 2, and then they lost. They got blown out in mini, and then they lost another clutch game in game 7 that shouldn't have been a clutch game because that was another game where they blew a gigantic lead, and and then this happened. So I started to be very skeptical of how positively predictive the clutch could be. I do think that the fact that they're so bad in the clutch, especially defensively, is a big issue for me because it's one of those things where like if they were good in the clutch, it wouldn't be sufficient for me to feel that much differently about the team outside of like obviously having accumulated a few more wins and get better seeding. But the fact that they're still bad in it, honestly, especially defensively, even over the last 3 games, like you look at it, they're averaging like a 125 defensive rating in the clutch in those games. And I've extended it. A lot of my analysis has extended to not just the clutch, but the whole fourth quarter, because I think it encompasses not just the clutch dynamic, but also the like blown large lead dynamic that gets them to the clutch more so. And that's still an issue for me. And I know that like last night you're talking about the rest spot and like all of this. And I think AG did not play last night, and that was another factor. But if this team can only play in perfect conditions, then they're susceptible to have another, game where they're on 36 hours rest because the NBA scheduled a Sunday matinee in the middle of the playoffs, and it's like, well, I guess this is a scheduled loss in the middle of the playoffs, and you never want to have that kind of you don't want to feel that way about your team either if they're going to make a serious run.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely worrying. I don't think it's a huge deal. Like I think Matt Moore, he's done a ton of work on it where it's not necessarily predictive, just looking at the history of how playoff teams perform and all that. So I'm not saying it's dooming us at all, but it is a little bit worrying and frustrating, especially when you think about how we've lost in previous seasons. Like we had the amazing Clippers series where, AG had the game-winning dunk, and we pulled off that series in 7-game close battle. And similarly against the Thunder, like we were almost there, just couldn't pull enough plays together to really close it out. And so when you think about the grind of the playoffs and how sometimes those series get swung by those kinds of moments in games with them being so close, and the fact that we haven't really blown a lot of teams out, and we've been playing these 7-game series lately, although I hope that's going to be different this year. It's scary because you want to be the one putting the plays together. And so if it happens that the playoffs come and it's still happening, I guess we can look back and say, I don't know, like they didn't have this certain trait to really put teams away, and they had been dealing with that all season, and now the playoffs are here and it's another story. But I don't know. I mean, the Spurs and Oklahoma are tough as hell. Like they're going to be, if we beat them, it's going to be a close series. Like I don't see us killing them. So we'll see what we're like made of when the time comes, and we're healthy for it. Jamal's peaking at the right time. Pwat's looking good. We're going to be talking about all this stuff. So you can look at it kind of any way you want.
That's the thing with this year's team. They are a Rorschach test. They've given every faction of the fandom like a little bit of anything to cling on to for whichever take in whichever direction they want. Yeah, Liz says, but man, Jokic is playing a sense of defense and refs call him for every tiny touch. I think Jokic generally earns the defensive foul calls that he gets. Yeaman says we need more rest. Too late. You gotta wait till that that week off, play-in tournament week, to get any rest. They are gonna have let me see here. I was just looking at the schedule. They have a couple days off between the last couple games of the season. So they're playing the Jazz tomorrow and then the Warriors Sunday. Then they get 2 full days off and then they play the Jazz again. Wow, we have 2 games against the Jazz in the last few games. Okay. They like this schedule is so weird because they backloaded a ton of our division games. The Wolves were like the only division team we played multiple times before February, which is crazy because we have to play each of those teams 4 times. Then they have 2 more full days off before they play against the Spurs, who might still be fighting for a number 1 seed at that point. Then they'll have then it's like an every other day thing until the end of the season, and then they'll have like 5 days probably before the playoffs start on that Saturday.
I feel like it's looking like we're gonna get the 4 seed or 5 seed.
Probably 4.
And
I think 4 because of the
want to play
tiebreaker
the
situation, but it could be anything.
I do not want to play the Wolves.
I think it's going to be the Wolves because the Rockets have the easier schedule remaining. I wanted to look at this actually.
I still think the Rockets can get back in the 5 spot, and we can
they can. They have to take care of business the rest of the way because I don't know if they have tiebreaker. Well, let's see. The Wolves play the Pistons twice, and they play the Hornets, who are just unbeatable right now for whatever reason. The rest of the games, so they could lose up to 3. Probably. They play the Rockets again, so both of those are good for us because it just means that like one of those teams is going to accumulate another loss. Maybe the Rockets will just pull back in because I think the Wolves have the tougher schedule, but the Rockets need to not blow stuff. I think the Rockets have been pretty good at taking care of business against bad teams. I just want to look really quick at the records against below 500 competition. Yeah, so the Rockets are 19-8. The Wolves are 23-8. But yeah, against below 500 teams. So I don't know. The Rockets, like they're pretty shaky. But it also means they have more of those left because that's like they've played 4 fewer games.
But the Wolves, is Ant still out? I mean, I know they beat the Rockets last night, but you just
I think he is still out. Because he was supposed to be out for like kind of indefinitely, but it was going to be a couple weeks. Yeah, he didn't play last night. I think it was supposed I think a lot of people were thinking it would be like 2 weeks. So he might be back for like the last week of the season. I'm not worried about the Wolves being able to win games against even good teams without Ant, especially down the stretch of the season. Because like I talked about how they play the Pistons twice, but the Pistons have already locked up. Let me see if they've locked up the East yet. They are 4 games ahead of the Celtics in the loss column. So not yet, but they're pretty close to locking up the 1 seed in the East. So they might not be. Actually, they're the next 2 games for the Wolves. So it would be better for many if they played the Pistons later, but they're going to be playing hard in those games. So
I just would obviously playing the Rockets in the first round would be so much better than the Wolves. So I'm praying we can.
Yeah, because the Rockets.
There's a lot of weird scenarios, and people have been talking about this about like the Spurs getting the 1 seed, and then we can avoid the Thunder to the conference finals, and maybe we'll play the Rockets the first round. So there are some potential cool, lucky breaks that we could get, but we'll just see how the season shakes out. It's pretty close. It would be so funny if the Spurs passed the Thunder in the first seed. Oh my God, that would be pretty amusing, especially for like the MVP debate and all that. which I think is absurd, and I'm not participating in
Is
it
that
all
what we
this year.
want? Is that what we want if we're the 4 seed? I guess. I don't know. I don't feel amazing about the Spurs matchup either, but
No, I
OKC's
don't.
at least demonstrated the ability to beat us. And it'd be kind of funny if the Lakers are like, yeah, 3 seed, let's go, and then you have to play like the best team in the NBA if you make it to round 2. I think that would be funny.
I think if you
But
get
I'd be really annoyed if the Thunder lost to the Lakers in round 2.
oh, I'd be so happy. Are you kidding me? I'd be like celebrating on a rooftop.
I mean, I guess, but it's like, oh, well, Luka did what Jokic couldn't last year, blah, blah, blah.
But then if we beat the Lakers, which I think we will if we play them in the playoffs.
I mean, do we make it to the conference finals?
If we don't, well, I don't know. Yeah, like if we get beat by the Spurs and then the Lakers beat the Lakers are
Luka
not
has
beating
made
the
his
Thunder.
second finals in the last however
There's
long.
no way the Lakers will beat the Thunder.
No,
okay.
I think the Lakers would get clapped by whoever makes the conference finals. Like literally anybody who makes the conference finals. That team is so fugazi. They are being propped up by some absurd clutch stuff right now.
That's true. It's that NBA whistle, the clutch. They've won so much. It's pretty crazy. But yeah,
they're
won't happen.
20th in defense right now. Like,
wow,
they're like,
and they just don't have
where
any
we
centers.
are with a worse offense.
They have no centers. It's just not going to work out in the playoffs. They're going to get crushed.
I mean, they've got dominating.
Ugh.
Okay, let's talk about. I want to talk before we jump into the Peyton stuff. I want to go back a little bit to our blowing leads conversation, but more specifically, this small ball look that David Adelman has opted to employ down the stretch of the season. It seems like Adelman has completely given up on Val, as well as Zeke and Duran. Val has joined the echelon of backup bigs that the coaches never want to play. And, you know, whatever. I thought Val played pretty well in the... Was it the Toronto game? Which was the game that he played in he played well in the first half, and then DA went to Spencer at 5 in the second half. Maybe it was in the loss that was before the Toronto game. Let's see, which one was that?
I think it was the Toronto game.
It must have been, because I don't think it was before our last show. And that was the last time we saw Jonas Valanciunas. He hasn't been heard from.
Yeah, he wasn't in the Blazers game. We had some small ball looks there too, which it was fine later in the game, but in the second quarter there was a time where I was like, God, this small ball unit does not look great against the Blazers. But they have a pretty good, like, lanky, fast small ball kind of thing they can put together. So
yeah, and the small ball lineup, or like the general construction of it right now, is Spencer at 5, no AG, even in the games where he's played in this last like 4 or 5 games that the DA has been using this small ball look more voluminously, I should say. So Spencer at 5, and then 3 guards, with usually like Bruce at 4. In the games where Peyton played, he was the 4. And you'd have Jamal and either Tim or Cam. Sometimes it's Christian instead of Bruce. Like, he's played around with that, but that's the general construction, like the general outlines of what DA has been throwing out there. So it's a very small ball look. It's not like Spencer and like one other big, for example, like one other switchy big, like AG or even Zeke. It's really like Spencer, 3 guards, and like a wing playing power forward, right? It's been interesting, I think. It's been very promising in terms of just kind of bringing a little bit more defensive edge, being more switchy, getting up into guys. Matt Moore pointed out that, like, apparently the players have talked about, this according to him, or implied, like, we can get a little bit more aggressive because we're not really worried about defending the back line. One of the things I actually worry about a lot with small ball is, like, well, once the guy makes it past your first guy, there is nobody back there. So, like, if you have someone that can beat a player off the dribble as, like, Christian has been beaten off the dribble a lot lately, like really getting blown by. So last night was, I think, the first time where DA played Tim for an extended stretch in those lineups, and that looked pretty dicey. But the general idea of like all five guys can like sit down and like at least stay in front of a guy, force like a tougher shot, and then kind of go from there. I do think that the way that the look has been talked about since DA started employing it is a little bit removed from reality in terms of how much of a fix it can be for Denver's defense in these bench lineups. Because we know the defense was bad with Jonas out there, like obviously. The times when those lineups were good is when they could just score every time down. Get offensive rebounds, although Jonas's offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding hasn't been fantastic since he came back from his injury. It was more so of a factor earlier in the season. But also just being able to run basic screening actions, et cetera, et cetera. And things have been process-wise offensively a little bit clunkier, a lot more reliant on Jamal, or even like yesterday we saw Peyton being able to get a step on a guy to touch the paint because they're not able to as easily run their basic stuff. So basically like a less existential version of the kinds of problems that they had whenever they were playing Zeke at 5 in previous years. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what Phoenix did to counter the small ball look, because in the first half of the game against the Suns, they were just completely discombobulated. They don't have a lot of players that can take a guy off the dribble. And that's what you not have to do, but like it's what a lot of teams try to be able to take advantage of when they're playing switch all lineups. And so they were very lost. But I think in the second half, in that fourth quarter, when the bench comes back in, they did a really good job of countering the small ball look. And I would like to present some of the issues that the small ball look has, but they're imminently solvable without necessarily changing the lineup. But I want to talk about why putting a switchy lineup out there is not like a cure-all. Like it still matters how the players on the floor play, and being ready for some of these counters. All right, so let's first go to the Oso and one. Oso Ighodaro, by the way, was like killing this small ball look in that fourth quarter. He was pretty essential to him. I originally thought that was the reason that Denver was playing the hack of Oso in the fourth, and I was like, embarrassing. But it was to prevent Phoenix from just getting threes up late. I didn't like the way that they were executing it because they weren't letting time run off the clock, et cetera, et cetera. But let's talk about this clip. So this happened a lot in this fourth quarter where Oso Ighodaro was just running full speed toward the rim and trying to post early or just like rim run and try to get whoever was guarding him in a compromised position. In this case, it was Tim a couple of the times, I think, actually. And you could just roll the clip now. And I think that's Jordan Goodwin just gets him a nice entry pass, and Oso gets an and one off of it because like the help is too late. Tim has no chance in this situation. You probably would have wanted to see Tim try to force him out a little bit more, but this is more of like a positive on what Oso was able to do, because he was able to get down the floor so quickly that he gets deep position before Tim has an ability to push him out. RX Smart says, did you guys touch on Adelman's postgame comments about Pwat? I was intrigued. I'm also noticing how much Murray and Jokic look for Watson. I didn't get to watch the DA postgame. If you want to give us like a quick summary of that, I'm happy to talk about whatever his comments were. So those early rim runs and posts were important because it meant that Spencer was not able to catch Oso in transition. It was a lot of like force a cross match. And when you're playing a lineup that's not just small, but that small, every non-Spencer matchup is going to be a cross match, a mismatch for Oso. Because he's he's a small ball center himself, but he's bigger than he was going to be the biggest guy on the floor.
Yeah, I think Spencer, he has a lot of tools to play small ball 5 for us. And, obviously we're not doing it with Zeke. That nobody wants to see him at the 5 anymore. That apparently messed up his whole career. So, but this is a learning curve. Like, there's a lot that Spencer's trying to put together right now, let alone like knowing all this stuff for the small ball 5. And I mean, it should be more simple, switch all kind of coverages. It's easier to like employ as a defender, but still, like, you got to be looking ahead for those types of plays and situations, and it's a lot to learn. And we'll look at some miscommunications for sure.
Right. Okay, so the next one was the Oso putback. So another way to counter a small ball switch all small ball look like Denver had on the floor here. And this one gets a little bit big. I don't remember if Cam was on the floor in the last one, but I want you to pay attention to not only the putback here, and it's because I think Bruce is the one that leaves Oso there to.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually on Spencer. Because he's guarding Oso. And
but they couldn't decide who was supposed to recover to Grayson Allen. And so Spencer goes and Bruce goes, which leaves Oso open.
The other thing I want to point out. Yes, there were. We'll get to a couple other miscommunications. If you could go back to the beginning of that same clip, I want you to watch how hard Colin ends up ghosting as soon as Denver decides they want to switch here. So he enters the ball to Oso, Grayson. And then just like cuts hard to the corner while Denver's trying to decide, are we switching, are we hedging, whatever. And I think they're trying to switch everything, but it's like Tim. This is another one where like Tim is late to figure out what's going on here, and that was a good look for Colin. Like, force a sidestep, whatever, because I mean Tim like still puts in effort there, but he was late in the first place to recognize that Colin was ghosting that. And he probably could have just slipped like going downhill and gotten a floater out of that too, because it was just like open space while the defense was confused there. And those kinds of slips and like really intentional ghosting on the ghosting screens is a really good way to combat a switch all defense, or like a switch all base defense. Because sometimes there was clear in some certain possessions here where they didn't want to switch because of like how this was going. But when the other team wants to switch everything, you just slip. You just slip, and to counter the switching, and as long as the guy with the ball can get you the ball, like can recognize like you're in open space, like it's really easy to get open against that kind of defense off the ball, right? Let's go to the Oso dunk. This was another miscommunication. I believe this one was on a slip. This is early. Oh, yeah. So Spencer and Bruce again. And if you could just replay that. So he actually sets a screen, takes Bruce with him, kind of screens Spencer out too. They're like trying to figure out what's going on here. Spencer's like, okay, I'll recover. It's like, nope, you switched. You got to actually switch. And Oso was just ready, to slip in that situation. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't recognize about these switch all defenses is the guys that know how to play well off the ball have actually a really big advantage against that scheme because they can cause mass confusion, as Denver does often against teams employing the same thing. So I wanted to point out some of these examples to just talk about the ways that switch all defenses are actually vulnerable against offenses that are, have more off ball action. Guys are willing and able to, pass the ball into open space, and also take advantage of not like even a very limited size mismatch. Because like I said, like Oso himself is a small ball 5. But he was able to, take advantage of like Denver playing even smaller.
I also just think on that one, Spencer didn't really trust that Bruce was going to get off that screen. Like he was kind of locked up and he was ready to just run out to recover. And people have been talking about Nuggets trusting each other on defense a lot too, but definitely miscommunication. Bruce needed to switch earlier, and hopefully they clean those things up. Real quick, RX Mart says were Adelman's comments talking about how we've been a passing cut team and not have a player like Pwat who gets into the paint, and that adds a different dimension. Which, yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that with Pwat clips and how important it is to have someone who can dribble, drive, and like get in the paint and score and kick out. And that was really cool to see from him. That was sweet.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk about Peyton's ability to get into the paint with the ball in his hands. Let's go to the Grayson Allen floater. So just another example of Grayson here being able to this is like, I was annoyed with the way that the play-by-play arranged this clip, but Grayson actually had given, so he didn't have the ball and he had ghosted pretty hard on this action, just trying to confuse Cam and Spencer. And then he was just able to make a quick move, force Cam one way, and then got like not all the way downhill, but pretty far downhill for this floater. Let's go to the Fleming fouled clip. So this was one where Rasheer Fleming was able to, again, just slip quickly and with intentional, like cuts and slips are, as soon as they call for the switch, Rasheer Fleming is like, great, I'm going to go downhill. And this is something that Denver does to other teams all the time against switching. It's like, oh, switching is not a it's not a fix-all. It's not a cure-all. And you still have to, there are ways to still cover these slips and cuts, even with a switching defense. I actually think Boston does a really good job of that when they're playing at their best defensively. Maybe they haven't necessarily this season, but that's a team that I think does a good job of it. Denver does not do a good job of it right now. And I think it was good and important for them to go through a stretch playing these lineups where their base scheme is getting schemed and they need to be prepared for some of those counters if they're going to maximize their efficacy in the playoffs with those lineups. Let's go to the Rasheer Fleming missed layup as well. I think this one was a similar situation. What, like, doesn't even like immediately slips the screen here, and like I don't know what's going on with Jamal and Bruce.
Yeah, Jamal's almost
probably plays this one on Jamal because he's not really in position to guard either Oso or Fleming.
He's technically ready to switch and get up there, but I mean, Bruce got to be ready.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's all on
right,
Cam
but
at
even
that
if he's
point,
ready to switch, Rasheer Fleming takes a really smart angle with that screen so that if they had switched, he's already behind Bruce. Right.
Thankfully, they didn't make the shot. Cam on the rotation.
Right.
That's
I was
one
like,
that they'll probably make.
This should have been 2 points for Phoenix. But yeah, he missed it. And then the last one was another miscommunication on the Grayson layup. So this one, I think, was a miscommunication, again, involving Tim Hardaway Jr., which is like, okay, you need to think about like how good of communicators the guys that are in these lineups have to be. Like, I think this was a miscommunication where they're trying to figure out if they're going to hedge or not. I actually don't even know why they ran what they ran here, because Denver opted to put Tim Hardaway Jr. on Devin Booker. And they didn't just let him like go one-on-one.
Yeah, and after the play, Tim complains that he got grabbed, that Booker was holding him so that he couldn't even get out to guard that, which I don't know from that angle if that was true or not. I mean, probably. Some physical play, not allowing him to get out there on the drive.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a counter to Tim kind of playing pretty physical with Booker to try to deny him the ball, too. So it's kind of like, let them wrestle. But you need to be better about executing in this situation. Vyacheslav says, look at the score. We survived the Don Yoke minutes. That's most important. I agree, but I think that these lineups can be even better. And I think defensively, they got pretty cooked in the fourth quarter. They were basically just kind of going band for band with Phoenix at this point. I think Jamal was doing a good job of getting downhill in this game, and he was better in the fourth quarter than he had been in like the first three at like making the shots too. All right. Our expert wants to talk about Peyton. Let's talk about Peyton Watson next. Could you bring up the previous comment right before this one?
He was just saying this is what Jokic said about Peyton Watson. He's attacking the rim so big, so tall. He can attack, see everyone pass the ball, put pressure on the rim constantly, and it will help us a lot, which is true.
Yes, it is very true. And I want to let's talk about
man.
Let's talk about the variety of ways that Peyton Watson enhances Denver's offense to start. So I accumulated some clips from the last two games that Peyton Watson played in. He played around 10-minute stints in the Portland and Dallas games. Played a little bit more in the Dallas game, I think. Let's start with a missed floater off of DHO. I liked his initial process on this possession.
Yeah. So this clip starts super right at the floater, so we can't see him.
So pause here. Yeah, leave it paused here. He runs pick and roll with Jokic, kind of gets downhill. Klingon has stepped all the way up here. I kind of wish Jokic had rolled a little bit harder in response to how far up Klingon is stepping, because it would have given Peyton an outlet for Jokic to catch the ball. Peyton also probably could have gotten a little bit further downhill and gotten a layup, because I think he's got that quickness edge on Klingon for sure. So I didn't love the ultimate shot that he took, but he was comfortable enough to try to run pick and roll with Jokic. So this was just kind of like a first pancake kind of possession. And it's one of his first possessions since being out for a month also in this game.
It's good to see that he looks... I mean, I know people have been saying...
The confidence has never been a problem for Peyton Watson, ever.
Everyone's pleased with how he looks, and so I expected him to look way timid, maybe less explosive, a little bit less confident, rusty. But yeah, he even has room to grow for sure. And he looks... I like what he even brings right now. So...
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the made floater off the empty side. So Denver... this is kind of like a secondary action here. Cam tries to do something. They like don't totally reset, but Jokic is like, okay, I'll just run something with Peyton since I'm out here with the ball. And yeah, Jokic looks for Peyton, and Peyton, I think he couldn't decide if he was going to cut or not, but he very confidently just runs a little handoff with Jokic, gets a little bit downhill, and then takes a floater. Not an ideal shot, right? But we know Peyton can make it. And frankly, like you and I have talked about this so much, just not just the ability, but the confidence of having another player on the team that has the confidence to do something with the ball in their hands, operating, especially with Jokic, because like so often with non-Jamal guys, it's all about getting Jokic the ball, and Peyton can do that too, and we'll have some examples of that. But just his willingness to like, okay, I'm going to try to create my own shot, and sometimes it goes in and sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes you just need a guy to make a play for himself.
Right? Yeah, we need that.
Like we have been lacking that.
Such a lack of ball handling and people to be able to create their own shot. And I was impressed with what he's been able to do recently in that regard. And like Jokic barely kind of got contact on Scoot there, but just got it just enough to get Pwat some separation to attack. And we just saw the floater against Klingon that he basically airballed, and this one he made on Robert Williams. And I just kept thinking, man, like, you know, floater's always a tough shot. You like to see it. It's another skill. There's also a long floater.
Bag. Like these aren't short floaters.
But Peyton is such a tall player that like if he could dial it in and be automatic, like it would be so hard for anyone to contest. And we're gonna see one over Klingon right now, I believe, where it's like,
yeah,
even against a longer person who may be trying to give up that shot, you know, he's not like trying to block a floater. You want to force people into tough floaters, but Still
Right.
impressive to see him make it over such a tall player.
But that's why that shot is called a giant killer, right?
Yeah, because you could just get it right over them. And he has the height already. He's in position at the apex of his jump and release. You can basically kill any big except for Wemby. So yeah, let's look at that.
Whoa. ISO on Matisse Thybulle, who is not the best isolation defender, but just kind of love this like semi-transition attack, kind of get the guy off balance, and then very confidently stepped into that floater. I thought it was very well contested, by the way.
Yeah, no, it was
Mark
for
Smart
sure.
says, this is a guy who's been out for 6 weeks. Kind of crazy. I'm still giving him grace to be bad, but very nice game yesterday. I completely agree. Peyton, every time he's been out for a couple weeks or more, like more than like out for more than a game or two, he's come back very rough, like in his career. So I was very much not sure what to expect from in terms of how he was going to look. Like I'm talking about like very rough to the point where you're like, I don't know if this guy should be on an NBA roster, kind of rough for like a couple weeks. But his last 2 games that he's played, he's like there's definitely some like athleticism stuff. Like he's not jumping quite as high, even like with a running start. Although like you still see like his baseline athleticism is still pretty high in the ways that in the things that he is really good at. That I wasn't sure like how far the floor would have dropped post injury, but he looks pretty good right now. And yeah, he's just like contributing still at a high level despite not being 100%, which is very, very positive to see because there's not a lot of ramp up time before the playoffs.
And yeah, he might have a game here and there where he's not going to look like this level of Pwat, the exciting new era of the Nuggets, which I think is fine coming off the injury and him still putting it together. But right now, the fact that he looks even remotely like he did before, and we were already wondering how real was it, which, you know, you could have bought in then and I wouldn't have blamed you at all. But you just want to see more from a guy and see it more consistently. And here we are. It's
yes,
like I've been so excited to see the answer to that question, and it's really exciting and one of the best things that can happen for us to just add another threat to make this playoff run. I'm so excited.
And not just another threat, but like another type of threat. And like the types of things that Peyton can contribute offensively are very different than anything else that we have on the roster. He's shooting 53% from corner threes. I hope that carries over into the playoffs. Like I hope to God that carries over into the playoffs. All right, let's go to the driving layup again off a handoff. I think this was with handoff with Jokic. Yep, give and go. Gets a little discombobulated. He has that baby giraffe thing going on, and he was able to recover the ball and get all the way past Jumani Kamara and get all the way to the rim for a very skilled finish at the basket. Got some nice spin on the ball there, and it actually went in. We've been talking about Peyton's rim finishing this season, and I actually want to bring up those numbers because he has missed time this season, but we can just look at the full season outlook here. Peyton is shooting AG is at 74%, leading the team. So is Jokic. They're both at 74.7. But Peyton Watson, there's so many guys on the roster, is shooting 65% at the rim this season, which is far and away like the best that he's shot at the rim. Because we've been talking about him as like a dangerously close to 50-50 guy at the rim in years past, and he's just been a lot more consistent there this season.
Yeah. I mean, that last clip looked so easy, just like blowing by a dude, another guy kind of coming in to help, but it didn't phase him. He just straight to the rim. Good lay-in. Came out of it running smooth.
Peyton is not a like quick twitch kind of athlete when it comes to the downhill stuff, but his stride length is just so gazelle-like that it kind of catches the defender off guard how far he can get a step on you without being a fast player. Right?
Yeah, I wonder.
It's just a matter of like, can you hang on to the ball on these drives?
Yeah, and I just think he has a newfound confidence in it where it's like, yeah, you don't need some crazy move to create separation on a drive.
Yeah.
And he's just like gliding past people. And I wonder if he's even surprised how easy it is for him. And
that's
yeah,
scary.
because yeah. But yeah, we're going to look at some more right now for sure of him just like getting downhill.
Let's go to what he can do within scheme next. The floater versus a zone. So they're kind of playing a zone, but it's kind of hard to identify until Peyton tries to cut, and then they double Jamal, and then the other look at the like 4 eyes on Jamal. As the Blazers were really in sync on that particular possession. But Peyton flashes middle, and he's able to gather that ball that I'm not sure if the problem was the pass or the catch. It was probably a little bit of both because it was kind of a low pass. But that was nice, like a nice outlet. Like we love when Jamal has outlets in these situations because he was being doubled. It's funny that I think he was doubled actually more in the Dallas game that had 53 points. Anyway, that was cool. Peyton hasn't forgotten how to play basketball. He knows like where to be offensively, like how to find the open space and that kind of thing, which is really, really nice to see. All right, let's go to the layup off the weak side cut. This was just like a nice, I think, athletic play and an impressive find by AG. So you have not AG, but Tim flashing middle against the zone, and then Peyton basically pulling a 2023 NBA Finals Christian Brown and just knowing exactly when to cut off the weak side. And whoever's in the middle, in this case, Tim, was able to find him for an easy dunk, which he finished with 2 hands, which we love to see from Peyton Watson.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just taking advantage of any weakness on defense and deciding quickly, like no hesitation on the cut. As soon as the ball got to the middle, he was ready. Even Scoot knew he was going to have to try and cover that backline cut, and but Peyton Watson was already on it, so not even giving him a chance.
Let's go to the layup off the slip. So this was against Dallas. Denver running split action. Peyton remembers the playbook. They run Peyton kind of sets the little screen for Christian. Dallas decides to switch, and the immediate, trigger there is slip, and bam, gets all the way to the rim. Right?
Bobbled the ball at first, but had the hands to get it back and then lay it up at the rim. Maybe he has really good hands.
Could you actually go to the cutting dunk off the slip next? Just because it was a very similar play, opposite side of the floor. Same thing, split action. Dallas wants to switch. Peyton has position because of the angle that he set the screen. So this is the exact same thing that Phoenix was doing to our switching, except they weren't necessarily. It wasn't necessarily like a post split. It was just like a more simple slip off a more simple action there. But the point is, like, when you know how to set the right screening angle, you can make it like very, very difficult for a switching defense to stop you from running into open space. So the difficulty there is like, can the guy who has the ball get you the ball? And in this case, the guy who has the ball is Nikola Jokic. So the answer is yes. With that pretty like sick behind the back pass there. One-handed finish from Peyton. Didn't love that, but it's fine because the ball went in. I would have liked to see a layup there. Just do the least risky type of shot at the rim.
He had to send a message with that dunk right there and get people hyped.
So. Let's see. We did the layup off the slip. Okay, let's go to a little bit more of Peyton in his bag with the ISO layup on PJ. So Dallas switches here. PJ doesn't actually step all the way up to guard Peyton one-on-one. I think he kind of anticipates that, like, okay, this guy's going to drive now. But then he shifts his weight forward and has no chance because at this point, Peyton already has a step on him despite being like 4 feet, behind because of how PJ's weight shifted. And Peyton recognized that and got all the way downhill for a nice, simple layup. And these are the types of plays that I've been begging for Denver to get a guy to be able to do. And that, as we've discussed many times in this podcast, Calvin Booth placed a bet that at least one of Christian, Peyton, or Julian would be able to, because it's just the way that the rest of the roster was constructed. Is like there's nobody else that should be getting these kinds of on-ball reps because these are the guys that should be doing the thing. With the exception of what he got Russell Westbrook last year, which is kind of a big deal, I think, for that, as we've discussed. But these are the kinds of plays that we've been looking for from somewhere else on the roster, such that it doesn't all have to be on Jamal to do all this on-ball creation, right?
And Peyton's had length and speed on defense. We've seen it in years previous. So to see him use it on drives and just getting around defenders who are even just closing out and attacking the way he's skinny, so he can get through like gaps too, and just speed through and get to the rim.
That's true. And there are so many. It's not just the skinniness, although that definitely helps. I think that his confidence in his ability to move through those gaps is a really big deal, because there are so many times where I see like, man, if Christian could just check right here, like there is a wide open lane to the basket at like a slight angle. But if it's not like a straight line drive, like in transition, he very much hesitates. Whereas Peyton is trying to find those creases, to be able to get there in a more like kind of serpentine kind of way almost. All right, let's go to the ISO layup. So he took on Cooper Flagg in isolation here. And Cooper's a good defender. But again, Spencer sets a screen. They switch with Cooper. And I just like, can we pause after? Okay, so right here. This is really good recognition, because Cooper should have just stood where he was, or at least kept his weight backwards. Because as soon as he shifted his weight forward, Peyton made his move. And that's exactly when he needed to be like this. This is the moment at which Peyton gets the step on Cooper Flagg here. And now you've got him on the back foot, and yeah, it's just
he confused.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. It was just like it was.
He definitely thought he was going to cross over. He was like, okay, he's definitely going to go out and then cross back over. But then he just went right by him right there. Was not expecting it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good recognition on his part of like, I don't need to do the more complex move because they already expect that of me, and I can just take advantage of that too.
And just like having it feels like it's slow.
Cold hezzy. Smart. Yes.
Even just the amount of time that, like, it's an instant recognition of like where the defender is and where you can go, and like that just getting to him and him making the read to just get down to the rim is just a good sign for a player like this.
Like the instincts are building more to where he's doing the simple thing instead of like thinking about it and trying to do too much.
He's been putting in work, like in practice, and it's all starting to become.
It's all starting to click.
Yeah, it's all clicking for him.
League scared. Vyacheslav says Flagg both feet off the ground. Timing was perfect to attack. Yep. Completely agree.
Yeah, and Pwat drawing fouls at the rim is something he can add to, as RX Smart has brought up.
Let's go to the Euro floater off the handoff. So other side here. Just taking advantage of a bad point of attack defender in Klay Thompson. Like at this stage in his career, like Klay can't guard the perimeter. And he's just slow to get around this, and kind of he gets like partially screened by Dwight Powell a little bit, like forces him to take an off angle to get around if he's going to go under. Um, and this is the thing, it's like if you have the kind of athleticism that Peyton has, where or like the quick twitch athleticism, you could also be like Peyton, that's just like very, if you're like cat like almost in the way that you move, you can still get downhill even if the defender is going under. That is like as we know from other really talented perimeter players in the NBA. It's not like, oh, he went under, so I'm just stuck. I gotta like shoot this three. You can still, kind of break down the defense that way, especially when you have like a poorer perimeter defender on you. And I don't need Peyton Watson to be cooking Cooper Flag every possession. It'd be great if we had somebody that could consistently punish the fact of Klay Thompson on the floor, right?
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
you're running a Pwat 2-man game with Jokic as opposed to Murray or whoever else, who's defending Pwat in that situation? And if they do put their better defender on Pwat, then it opens up an option for someone else. So, yeah, it's just deadly. I like it a lot.
Yeah. We got okay, let's go to the big corner three, because this was the big one that everybody remembers from this Dallas game. 2-man game. They kind of flatten out the coverage by having Peyton and Cam kind of far down in the corners. But I like how, especially with Flag ignoring Peyton, and he sees like Yoke, just like makes the passing a little bit better with like a little bit of a sidestep to the left here, and then is able to, in that same, like in one fluid motion, do that and step into this shot. And his shot's been looking good. Like his shooting form is incredibly fluid. You can have guys that have a hitch in their shot and still make it consistently, but Peyton's is becoming closer to kind of textbook like shooter, and it's, I think, part of the reason why he's been so consistently good, especially from the corners. The above the break threes do look a little bit wonky to me, and I don't actually even know what he's shooting from above the break. I doubt it's 53%. Peyton is shooting, he's at 51% from the corners, 34% from above the break, which is, I mean, it's almost 35% actually, which is respectable. From that point on the floor.
But it's just shooting in general. Like, I mean, the fact that he's making threes to that level, especially in the corner, like, and it's just what you want to see. And he can put together an above the break thing, but corners are going to be more important for probably where he's going to be, like to float from the corner and dunker spot and cut on the baseline. It's amazing. And that was a clutch three.
Yep.
Finally, our clutch shots are going in from Pwat.
Yeah. I'm actually curious if I went to the clutch for the team. Peyton's clutch 3-point shooting, not that great. It's a very small sample size. It's just like one of those things where, it's great for this is one of the reasons that I wanted to focus on the early part of the show on like the Nuggets blowing leads, is I would love for them to stay out of the clutch as much as possible.
Well, yeah.
Because then it just becomes
world,
like small sample size theater, and anything can happen. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some of Peyton's other contributions offensively. Just other things that he's doing. Let's go to the Jamal missed three. So this one was in the Portland game. But Peyton is able to get downhill here, draw help in semi-transition as Jamal is kind of trailing. They're like,
paint touch.
Put an extra guy on him.
The ball's rotating.
Oh, it's not Jamal. It was Jokic trailing, and then the ball finds Jamal in the corner, and he happens to miss this wide open look. But it's all created by Peyton, early offense, drawing that help, and then forcing those rotations.
It's crazy Jamal missed that, but I mean, it happens. But I mean, to get him that good of a look is amazing.
Yeah.
Like you're just rotating the ball to Jamal wide open in the corner.
Yeah, let's go to the Yoke made dunk is what it should have been labeled, but I probably labeled it Yoke made. So Peyton getting all the way downhill off this handoff and then like almost all the way downhill. And then they left Jokic because Peyton had we see so much how in this exact situation, we've seen the coverage where like Robert Williams III would stay on Jokic. But Peyton made it so impossible to do that because he got such a step on, is that Chris Murray?
Yeah.
That RW3 couldn't just ignore Peyton because it was just going to be a dunk. And so Jokic is left completely alone. Probably what happens in like a playoff setting against like a better team is that Matisse pre-rotates to Jokic over there, but as soon as they see what's going to happen, or they plan for that to be like an automatic thing and force Peyton to find the like closer to like a skip pass or like find the guy that's above the break in that situation. But that was just I thought that was really good improvisation in that moment because he was probably thinking I'm getting a layup here. But yeah, Jokic wide open, like we move. Let's see. Let's go to the Spencer made corner three. So this is Peyton off the ball. I actually wanted to get your opinion on this play. Because Portland had kind of given up on playing defense by this point in the game, which was interesting. But I almost kind of felt like they were running like some kind of disguised screening action here with Tim and Peyton. So Tim is coming up to get the ball, or
he could have maybe screened for. I feel like whatever they were planning to do, Jamal was just like, "Oh, I'm driving it." And I don't really care what the plan was.
Right. And it results in a wide open Spencer corner three, which is, probably what the defense would like to live with. But it's still a good wide open shot. And he made it. And also, like, if Denver, if it were a closer game in this situation, Jamal probably tries to go for some kind of athletic finish or get free throws against Robert Williams III, which he could have because he got so far downhill. Like he, gets a step on his man and all of that. But I just thought it was interesting, whatever they were trying to do with Tim and Peyton there.
Yeah, it was almost like a down screen in a way for Tim to come up. But he didn't quite set a screen.
It was so like casual. Like they were just kind of like, woo. Like it seemed like they were catching them off guard.
Yeah. It didn't seem super deliberate to me. Or were they
just like, yeah, exactly. It didn't seem deliberate. It felt like, it's just like, do whatever.
Just playing basketball.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to the Bruce made three. So this was a nice Peyton kind of short, not roll, but short slip situation. So I think Jokic hit him on this slip and he, kind of cuts into this open space here again off these like unstoppable split actions.
It was a crazy pass.
Yeah, it was an insane.
Him being able to get that pass off. I mean, he's that's tough. He's going into the paint, his body's taking him in there, but he's got to wrap the pass around Thibault still,
and protecting the ball also by like playing to the side. It's not like the pass was like in the pocket or anything, but it was close enough to Bruce that he could catch it.
Just seeing him drive and kick is so fun too.
JJ Redick says his processing is a lot better than CB. It's definitely faster. That's for sure. Christian likes to take his time to assess the situation and then, regardless of what's happening, give the ball to Jokic.
Except for when he's running in transition or like cutting off of a screen or something. He I feel like he's good at. Like those are his bread and butter. He can just do it without thinking. But other stuff where it's like, should I drive and kick? Should I, like, what move should I do?
And it's funny because you wouldn't have necessarily said that about Peyton a couple years ago.
I wouldn't have said it about him. I was like not thinking he was going to be a Nugget in this summer. Like I knew he would be this season, but last summer I was like, probably not going to be in the cards for the future of this team. Hadn't proved anything, but now it's like, yeah, we got to keep him. He looks like, yeah, the next like era of the Nuggets. Like the big people are talking about it. The new big three, the new big four. Sorry, CB. I love you.
Couple more Peyton on ball moments here. Let's go to the Tim transition catch and shoot 3. This was just Peyton getting downhill in transition, so they get a stop here. Boom.
Hey, look at that rebound by Bruce.
Nice loose ball. Tap to
we
Peyton,
went from a Bruce 3 to a Bruce running, to Bruce hustling for the rebound and Peyton picking it up and then attacking in transition. For the Bruce folks out there, his defense hasn't been great though. I'll give you that. For the Bruce haters,
it's been on and off, really. He's had moments, but it hasn't been consistently good. The offense has been better. Like, he's shooting 66% at the rim after starting the season like 52% after the first, month and a half. He's been really good, especially in transition. So he's been better. All right, let's go to the Bruce corner 3 to close this one, because this was the play that Peyton had that, like, it was so simple, but I couldn't stop thinking about it for like several minutes as I was still watching this game live. If you could just play this again. So Peyton on ball. Jokic is trying to get post position on. It was number 10 that was on him originally, right? Yeah. With
I don't know why Clay
kind
was
of coming over and help.
Clay was like calling to switch or something. I don't know what he was doing.
I guess
he's telling him to run, and then he's going to run on the closeout.
Okay, yeah. But Peyton gets the ball to Bruce instead of trying to force the ball into Jokic, or trying to swing the ball on the perimeter over to Bruce and giving the defense a chance to reset and contest this shot better, right?
This is what we trust need. And a good read.
Yes.
Trust Bruce. He's open
and
in
it's
the
like
corner.
It's obvious. It's like, well, yeah, the open guy. And it's also like there were no Mavericks that were in the passing lane, even whatever. But it's just such a simple thing that so many other players on this team don't do, because they're like, well, we got it. You know what would have happened is like, if it were Cam, he would have passed it to whoever was next on the kind of counterclockwise to try and get somebody that had the angle to get the ball to Jokic, right? Which is another option, but it's like the only thing that we seem to have been going for over the last, especially since he came back from injury, but even before that and last year especially. And it's like a big problem in terms of trying to counter what teams are doing with fronting Jokic.
I mean, I don't know that a player will come over like Clay did in that scenario, leaving Bruce wide open. But I mean, teams are gonna leave CB and Bruce open.
Teams are gonna leave somebody open to.
So it can happen. But I'm just saying, is it going to be that egregiously terrible? But still, like Pwat made them pay. So
I mean,
shows that he's
left
smart.
Open a lot, man.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to comment on Peyton's offense before we move on to some of the defense? We probably won't hit all of these clips because I think the defense has been less consistent, and this is more about showcasing like what we've been missing with Peyton out.
No, yeah, I mean, it's great. Like everyone's been talking about it in the chat with the post game comments from Adelman and Jokic, which were spot on, and what we just looked at. Paint touches, moving the ball, finishing at the rim more confidently, his 3-point shots there. It's really just putting together a kind of complete package on offense. And yeah, it's just a different kind of a threat for us. And the future looks bright once we retain Pwat in the summer. I will say, I'm just calling it. I just don't see us not getting him. But we'll see. Maybe the owners will completely screw us all, but I doubt it.
Yeah, it depends on the market.
I feel like
23 minutes in his second game back. Yeah, Peyton's been great offensively. I really don't have any notes on like specific things that he needs to work on beyond just like getting back to peak health and staying there
He looks smooth though, and
offensively.
looks like it's all easy for him in a way. So
Or
that's
at
good.
least like not labored, right? Like
Yeah, not
it
labored.
could
Yeah,
like I expected it to look worse
yeah,
coming back from so much time off.
and just like not getting
Um
like the lift on a floater or
mhm.
a
Mhm.
quick step, but it's all there. So
And
it's
the
beautiful to
confidence,
watch.
like he's not
Yeah,
thinking about anything. It's
not
all
worried
very
about
second nature.
re-injuring the hamstring. He's just going for it. So knock on wood.
Um yeah. All right, let's go to the Scoop Mist 3. I really liked this clip because Scoot well, first of all, Scoot misses a shot, but that's not really what I want to focus on. Um watch Peyton's closeout to Thibault here, and then that's kind of it. I just liked his closeout. For like not just because it like it's Matisse Thibault, you kind of run him off the line.
Hmm. And you stayed with him technically on the drive. I mean, Jamal comes to
Yeah.
help, but still, that's hard to do. Like that's much harder to do than it looks.
Payne probably could have X'd out there too. There's definitely not, these are not like perfect defense clips. They were just these were just like some of the possessions that stood out to me in terms of Peyton's defensive impact. Let's go actually to the Scoot made layup. So I just wanted to point out how much ground Peyton covers on this possession. So he's covering one guy, has to switch off to Scoot
He's
after
chasing on
Spencer
yeah.
kind of like switches, and Spencer's like, go take him so that I'll take RW3, runs him off the line, and
Yeah,
then Scoot
Peyton puts
makes the
his hand up
layup.
like, "Oh, that basket's my fault," but I would have
I
rather.
kind of think like there's not much else that Peyton could have done here besides like okay, actually on that last closeout, I love the hustle, love the effort, but you don't need
It's like a blow
to
by.
try to run Scoot off the line. You just need to try to contest the three.
How
But
is
it's
Scoot
hard
doing on
sometimes,
his
you
three
just don't
these
know.
days?
I mean, it's Scoot is the thing. You just want to disrupt his rhythm.
Hmm.
There, certain shooters you want to try to force a sidestep, force a whatever. But with Scoot, it's just like just kind of throw it off slightly. Plus, he wants to get downhill. That's the other thing. It's not just like, oh, you want to contest the three for a bad shooter. You also don't want to give him the thing that he wants. But I liked the effort on that possession.
It just
Um,
shows like what he's possibly
for
capable
his
of,
first game back.
and he could
Yeah.
definitely execute things better on defense. Like everyone on the Nuggets can, but he has some. But that was the first thing that popped with Pwat on this team, and we've been waiting for the offense. The offense is here. Everyone needs to dial in the defense.
Let's go to Tumani being fouled. I think Peyton was called for the foul here, but I thought this was
Yeah,
just
he
a clean
was.
block.
The whistle gets blown.
But Peyton doesn't argue it. I think he gets him in the head kind of with his not forearm, the other part of the arm.
And I think just making that contact from behind on his body, they're probably gonna
Right.
call that.
But he kept it from being an and one. So
yeah,
I respect it. I like the
Yeah.
transition hustle too, because there's so many times that like Denver just gives up in transition.
Oh yeah, it's
And
been
like
bad.
Peyton and Spencer, I think especially are the ones that like never want to give up those plays, even if it results in free throws. But it's like, do you want 2 guaranteed points or do you want to force them to try to earn it at the line? I don't know. Dahlia says THA is going to get a big contract somewhere. I will miss him. I don't know if he's going to get a big contract somewhere, but he's definitely not going to be
Bigger than the
next year.
minimum.
Yeah, it's going to be bigger than the minimum.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go to the Brandon Williams missed 3 next. So, nice job contesting that entry pass there and then being like, "Oh, I also need to continue to guard because there's 19 seconds left on the shot clock."
Kind of interesting selling out for that pass. It's like an awkward pass to Chris Middleton.
Yeah, but it's also like you don't want
Tim.
Chris Middleton to get the ball to get Tim Hardaway Jr. in an
Yeah.
ISO
And it is
situation.
clutch time, so you're like really trying to get anything, but
Well, it's
that
the
was a
third
wide open
quarter,
three.
actually. It's not clutch
Oh,
time.
sorry. I thought it was the fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was such a high scoring game. I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is 92-95. It must be the fourth quarter, but no, it was like 140 to something.
Yeah. But he was able to contest that. Obviously, Brandon Williams gets the ball back and is able to get a clean look. So the question is, does he still do this when that's a good shooter? I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah, hope not. Yeah.
And if so, at least recognize that, like, after you tip that ball away, you need to run immediately back to that guy.
But that was a chance.
Because, like, Isaiah Joe's making that shot.
If he could have caught that pass, that would have been nice. Like, I mean, you've been talking about trying to get some
Yeah,
more
but it was like a one hand.
and
I don't think that he even thought he was going to catch it. I think he probably thought he was going to tip it further back instead of like to Brandon Williams.
Or to like maybe up in the air more to where he or someone could get it, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see. So the Clay midi we could play next. That was one where I think Peyton gets a little bit complacent off the ball. He's guarding Clay here. And he's like, "Oh, wait, stay here, bro." And then Clay's like, "Yep, you overplayed me, so I'm gonna get downhill." And Peyton was a little bit late on the recovery, just a little bit late, but that's all, someone like Clay needs to make like a 10-foot open shot. So
Powell's coming to kind of possibly set a screen, and Peyton positions himself to not have Clay run over the top. You don't want Klay Thompson running over the screen on the top to shoot a three or something. So I'm sure he was playing that, but that just allows him to just run straight down here and take a midi, which is better than him taking a three, I suppose. But
and he's still got like the best possible contest that any person in that situation could, just because of the wingspan. Like, I actually thought, seeing that, like, maybe Peyton will get a hand on that ball, but then it swished in, and I knew like Clay got the shot off in time, like just in time. Let's see. Okay, let's just play both of the last two. Let's go to the PJ missed floater. I just wanted to point this one out because Peyton, like, the wingspan's crazy to the point where even some of these close shots can be easily contested in ways that, like, just nobody else on the team can do, because our bigger players can't get close enough and our smaller players don't have the length to bother these types of shots from bigger wings. Also, like, PJ's not like the best floater shooter, but I just liked it. Peyton did a good job, stayed in front of him, didn't let him get all the way downhill, and then just contested the tougher shot.
And stayed on his feet, didn't try to like go for a crazy block, just make it tough, and we got the rebound, and we're ready to go.
Stayed on his feet. It's good. That's a good point.
All right, last
one.
And
then the last one. So this one was PJ makes the layup, but look at Peyton's ground coverage. He tries to help here on flag, loses his man, jumps up. So like the opposite, did not stay on his feet, but he did recover to PJ. If he had stayed on his feet, he probably could have forced PJ outside of the paint, or even if PJ wanted to try to force up a shot, I think Peyton would have had a chance to block it.
He was really worried about
from the pump fake.
Flag being on Spencer right here. He was like, "I'm helping on this."
Yeah, he was a little too overzealous on this one. I labeled this too much ground coverage for his own good.
Yeah, just the little details. Now he could be an amazing, like, just two-way player for us. We've seen it. I've seen the defensive intensity, seen the offense he's bringing, and a lot of the times, like, he trusts his recover ability to like go get blocks from behind. But I like that we just saw some clips where he was trying to come from behind and covering too much ground, but there are a lot of clips that we saw as well where keeping guys in front and just being sound, being a wall, deterring people at the rim, which is just a little bit more sound and fundamental, which I love from him. So especially because we're kind of a weak perimeter defense team, and him just being long and tall and standing there, contest floaters and deter people from getting easy looks. Yeah. Dahlia says she loves Pwat because he tries so hard. Yeah, he does. One of our young guys who can actually give us some energy.
All right. Anything else you want to say about Peyton before we move on to JamAll-NBA?
No, we're gonna cover a bit of Jamal here.
A little bit of
and
Jamal at
get
the end
out
of the show here. So Jamal had another historic night for him. 53 points on, I think, 28 shots against the Dallas Mavericks. He went 9 of 14 from 3. You know, I love that denominator as much as I love the numerator. Maybe more. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Jamal's All-NBA case because I think that people have spent a large part of the season thinking about Jamal as an all-star. And All-NBA is usually like a pretty high barrier to kind of break into, especially as the second option on the team. There are definitely some that make it, but it's usually, I mean, maybe as is the case in Jamal's situation as well, like due to an outlier season. So some of the more recent kind of second option guys that have made All-NBA, Jaylen Brown did in 22-23. Last season, Cat, I think, made All-NBA. Did Paul George make All-NBA 2 years ago? I think he was left off, but he was like the first one.
He was
that
close.
Was like the next most votes for third team. And then last year, just looking at the teams again, the Lakers always get 2 guys. They always had LeBron and AD. If LeBron had made the games played cutoff, I was really worried that he was going to make All-NBA. Because I don't think that he has played an All-NBA season this year. He started off incredibly slow, definitely turned it on in the middle part of the season in certain ways, but not in others. But the momentum to kind of keep his All-NBA streak going, I think would have been too much to overcome. And that would be obviously one less spot for Jamal. So this is going to be the first time in a while that the Lakers only have one All-NBA player. Let me just see real quick. I just want to confirm that LeBron has definitely not made the cutoff. He's played 52 games. Yeah, he's not going to make it.
He's not going to make it this year.
Yeah, this year. Yeah. He's not going to make the cutoff. He made it. He made it last year.
And people were kind of pissed about it even then. But he
were
was
they?
Really good last year.
I don't remember it as much. He was good for a longer stretch of the season last year than this one.
Yeah. He had a close to the season that was really good. But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I think he should make All-NBA. I'll be shocked if he doesn't. I know it's really hard.
Jamal.
Yeah, it's really hard competition to get on that list, but having a 53-point game at the end of the season put him back in people's thoughts, for this type of thing.
So Jamal is averaging 25.4 points per game right now. That's 16th overall in points per game and 12th among the 65 game eligible players. Currently, this is including everybody that's like on the bubble. But as long as you still haven't exhausted the total games played, I don't care about what you're on pace to play, as long as you whatever. So 12th conservatively in points per game among eligible players. 7.1 assists per game. That is 12th among all players and 7th among eligible All-NBA eligible players. And that includes guys like Isaiah Collier, who's not going to make All-NBA, Stephon Castle, who's not going to make All-NBA. So he's really top 5 among all the guys in assists per game, among the guys that are going to be considered for seriously for All-NBA, and maybe top 4. And there might be another name there that I'm forgetting. 4.4 rebounds per game, whatever. He's a guard. He's 85th percentile among guards for defensive rebounding. Last night he became the second leader, so not the leader, but second place among players with 50 plus point games in his career on 85% plus true shooting. The leader in that category is obviously Steph Curry, who just like turns in insane efficient shooting, volume shooting performances, or has in his career. And it's interesting to me that Jamal's on that list because like just the volume of times that he has specifically gotten over 50. uh but whenever he does hit over 50, it's gonna be a high efficiency game because that's the only way he gets 50. Right? He's
Yeah,
not
because you
usually
got to
like a
shoot it a
high
lot,
volume guy. Yeah.
and he's gonna if he's scoring that much, he's gonna be making them. Yeah, for
Making
sure.
a lot of threes specifically, I think.
Yeah,
Like he did
which
last
this
night.
was like a good 3-point volume game.
Obviously all-star, but I wanted to, let's see here. I wanted to just go through the guys that I think are going to make all NBA. Because I want to try to see how solid Jamal's case would. I think that this is as solid as a case of a case that Jamal will ever have for all NBA period. But I want to see how close he could be to second team all NBA. Right. So you've got Luka, Shea, and Jokic, obviously, right? Who fills out the rest of first team all NBA just based on eligibility? Throw out names and I'll tell you if they're on track or if they are still eligible.
I mean, Jokic.
Yeah, I said Jokic,
Oh,
Luka, Shea are the three.
those are like the only three I know.
Players? Who are the, like, we know
Luka, is he
Giannis is
available?
out because he's missed too much time, right?
Is Luka available? Yeah, he's
I said
eligible.
Luka, Shea, and Jokic.
Oh,
Well,
Giannis. I thought Giannis is out. So Wemby.
yeah. Wemby is going to be eligible as long as he plays, I think, the rest of the season. Or maybe he's got 2 games
I think only 2 games left. Yeah.
58. The Spurs have played. Oh my gosh, math. So they have 9 games left, and he needs. Wemby needs 7, so he's got 2 games that he can miss and still make be eligible, which I'm sure he will because he also wants that Defensive Player of the Year award finally.
Yeah. And I think the Jokic wants to make All NBA, and he's probably going to play every game.
Yeah.
So who's the other one?
So Wemby for sure.
Oh, you said Luka.
I said Luka already.
Sorry, the chat is debating trading Jamal Murray, and so I've been like reading the chat, being like, we should trade him for this guy, whatever. Anyway, I don't want to trade Jamal, but
so because of the time that Cade Cunningham is set to miss, because of the collapsed lung, that is a huge deal. He's not going to be all NBA eligible. But I would argue, I would put if there was a case for Cade or Jamal for second team versus third team, I would put Jamal second team because, and I have good reasons for that. But I'm not going to go into it because out of respect for Cade and like the situation he's in. But he's not going to be eligible. So who else makes first team? I actually don't know. Because you're not talking about like, oh, who are the best, like the best players on the best teams necessarily. There are a few good candidates though. I think Anthony Edwards, depending on how much more time he misses with the sore knee, because he is 7 games away, and I think the Timberwolves, yeah, they have 9 games left, so he only has 2 more games that he can miss. And remain eligible. So that's another one to match. There's so many guys that like are like right on the bubble. Well, so Anthony Edwards, Donovan Mitchell, and who was the
Donovan Mitchell's Steph. No,
Steph is
Steph
not
won't
gonna
make it. Jaylen Brown.
Oh, and Kawhi.
Kawhi is eligible.
So Kawhi has
What about Jaylen
he
Brown?
needs 7 games. Oh, for first team All NBA.
People are talking about him for MVP seriously
and
right now.
people. You mean Bostonians?
Like it's
And
mostly
we're
Michael
and random
Wilbon
and like
and Stephen A.
and like Kendrick
and
Perkins. That's
yeah.
not. I'm not. What are we doing, man? I mean, let's look at Jaylen Brown's numbers. Let's take this seriously because he is actually averaging more points than Donovan Mitchell. Similar efficiency, slightly less, but not that much less. Less efficient from 3, 5 assists to a few fewer assists. I think it's one of those things where it's like their cases are like similar, but Mitchell edges him out just a little bit in like every category. Except maybe defensively, but like
Yeah,
this
probably
Boston
true.
Celtics team is not good enough defensively for me to care about that. Let me see. They're sitting
Even
at
after
they're
beating
actually
the
sitting at
Thunder last
4th in the
night
season right now. They really turned it around.
and beat the Thunder last night.
They did beat the Thunder, but you know how I feel about OKC. Then again, Mitchell is pretty bad at defense. So maybe you wanna I would just give him an all defense nod. Like I just don't care about defense for all NBA. And I think the Boston Celtics are so good offensively without Jaylen and his antics. I think that the difference in their turnover ratio matters to me for that. So I would not put him first team.
Okay.
So I would
mean,
say Mitchell, Edwards, and Kawhi have the best because Kawhi is literally 6th in points per game. He's 50% from the field, 38% from 3, only 3.6 assists, which is not great, but over 6 rebounds, you know. But like the almost 30 points per game is pretty big. And I wouldn't have said this at the beginning of the year because the Clippers were so sad, but they have started to turn it around and they are going to make the play-in. I think they've already clinched a postseason berth. So, and I do think that Kawhi was initially snubbed from All-Star. Like he had been playing really well and he was left off that list for some reason, even though he was subbed in ultimately for, was it Şengün who was injured? I forget.
Yeah,
Not
something like
yeah,
that.
like the like Kawhi should have been in over Şengün initially. No. Did Şengün make the game? Somebody was out and Kawhi made it ultimately. But I was I thought he should have made it because it was obvious.
I still think Jaylen Brown is gonna be All NBA based on like
yeah, but I'm talking about who's gonna make that. Who's gonna be that 5th first team guy?
So you're thinking Kawhi and Donovan Mitchell,
and
yeah,
Ant.
one of them. Yeah,
if Ant comes back in time.
Yeah, one of them for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about those guys. So that's Jokic, Luka, Shea. Potentially, who was it that we had 4th? Wemby.
Jaylen Brown. Oh,
so Wemby, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, Ant if he makes it. So we're talking about 7, right? So you got 3 more guys that can make second team. So here's who I'm thinking next. I think I don't know if he's been shut down for the season. I don't think so. He's played a lot of games. Tyrese Maxey is definitely on the short list for this. Jamal. Brunson.
Maybe Booker.
KD. Booker.
Oh yeah, KD and Booker. Cade is ineligible.
And maybe Harden.
Sadly.
Yeah, Cade's going to be ineligible, so we're not counting him. So that's 6 guys remaining for the 3 spots on second team. I would have Jamal over KD for sure. Okay, here's the guys that I think are arguably, like, I think Brunson's probably ahead.
Yeah.
Booker.
He's like a number 1.
And Booker's not actually ahead, but like, here's where you start getting into the arguments for me. Booker, Jamal. I think those are the 3 strongest for second team of the guys that we listed. And then Maxey's also there, but I think that the overall impact matters and like the Sixers have been sad.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the assists. Oh no, he does. I'm looking at the wrong number. It's like almost 7 assists per game, actually. So we're actually looking at a very guard heavy potential second team All NBA. Where you've got it could be Ant who makes first team, and then you've got Donovan Mitchell, Ant and Jaylen Brown, Brunson, Jamal Booker, Tyrese Maxey, and those are the 6 guys fighting for 5 spots on second team All NBA.
Yeah. I think Jamal will probably end up on third team.
Probably just because of the cachet the other guys have. A lot of people have been talking about Devin Booker having a better season than Jamal, even though he's literally not. He's not. Like, it's just
Yeah.
facts. Like, Phoenix is better than people thought because of their defense, not because of their offense. And I'll have you know, Jamal kept the Denver Nuggets the number 1 offense in the NBA, even with Jokic out for a month in the month of January. I can actually tell you. So they kept their overall for the season was still first by the end of January. They probably weren't first that month, but I can tell you where Denver was for the month of January offensively. Oh, they were actually 10th. Whatever. Top 10 offense. Higher than the Phoenix Suns, who are not even. Are they even top half here? Did I miss them? Okay, they're like 12. Whatever. Okay, so it's pretty close. But that's where I'm talking. I'm not talking about like that's where the arguments come in. I think that Jamal has a reasonable second team All NBA case, and he's just the coolest of all the guys we talked about. So
Jamal
I
is
think
the
that he
coolest.
should get aura points for that. And let's just make it happen. Dahlia says astrologically this is a very important time for Jamal. I looked at his chart. He can't afford to slack off. Well, yes. Or rest his shoulder, apparently. I was glad to see him have like another like great game because it's been a while, especially since the shoulder started bothering him. It had been kind of like on the decline. So that was good to see, like the shooting, just like taking shots look more comfortable than it had been.
Yeah. I'm super glad that Jamal put together a really solid game. And he did have some great games not too long ago. Like he had a 45-point game, the game before the Lakers. Can't remember who he played. Then he played well against the Lakers. And then Scott Van Pelt asked him, what is it about you and the Lakers? You always kill them. And he was like, I dropped 45 last night on whoever the hell we played then. And I did good in that game too. And but with his shoulder injury, we talked about being worried about that and just him being beat down and tired from the season and everything that's been going on with us. Kind of a little bit inconsistent, being like, what's going on with him? And he not amazing in the Suns game, but hit some shots at the end. But to see like a convincing game like this, you have to peak at the right time. Kind of looks like everybody is. Like Jamal is. Pwat's back, still looking good. Like he can carry that momentum. So it's like the perfect timing, I think, for this team. And even AG hit some big threes like against these teams in these games. So I'm glad we're managing his injury status as well so he can play his best. So right now, everything's looking pretty good for us. So speaking of astrology and timing, I kind of like where we are.
Yeah, I was actually just checking it on Tyrese Maxey's availability. Apparently, he's missed a lot of games in a row. I guess he just like didn't miss any to start the season. And I'm just wondering if he's been shut down for the season and I missed it. Did he play the last time that we played the Sixers? I don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, he was definitely out, but he, I don't remember if it was like an extended absence or he was just gonna miss that game. But yeah, I remember like Maxey and Embiid were going to be out, so it was going to be this super easy win for us. And if we lost to them, it would have been the most embarrassing.
Oh, he's had a finger injury that kept him out since March 7th, but I'm sure he's going to try to get back and make All-NBA. He only needs 4 more games to qualify. So thank you, Danny. Yeah, finger strain. So that's something to watch. Also, Ant. I'm just saying, that second team All-NBA is still on the table. Okay. All right. So we wanted to gas up Jamal a little bit, especially after the game that he had last night, because we didn't really show a lot of clips of him just being a pure hooper. Anything else you want to say before we wrap up the show?
No. Do you have any thoughts on Spencer Jones? He's kind of been on a downswing.
No, I mean, Spencer does what he does. Like, he kind of guards, he kind of fouls, he rebounds, like he hustles. Like, Spencer's a body to put out there. The thing I'm curious about is how DA is going to use him come playoff time, because right now it seems like he wants to primarily use him as like a spot guy, especially a spot guy outside of being our small ball center, like backup center. I think that's probably going to be AG in the playoffs. I would love to see them both out there together. We haven't seen that. Okay. I can actually say, if we go to the lineup data for the whole team, how often AG and Spencer are out there without a true big. You can bring up other questions while I look this up.
No questions yet, but
any other comments?
Let's see. Do you think Spencer will play more than 10 minutes in the playoffs?
No, because I mean, I hope not, because it means that everybody is not healthy. If Spencer is playing more than 10 minutes in the playoffs, okay, there are two things that could happen. It could mean that like Peyton or AG got re-injured. It could also mean that Tim is playing less. Nobody else I can see, or Bruce is playing less, which would be fine. I'm fine with either of those things being true. I'm obviously not fine with it happening because of injury. I just think it's less likely, because I think DA likes playing Tim, especially. And I mean, it's willing to give Bruce a ton of leeway, as we saw, in the early parts of the season, as Bruce was very much struggling. Yeah. So Spencer, EG, let's say Jokic and Val are off the floor.
I also have a question about.
We've seen that at all. Yep.
How much small ball you'll think we'll see? Because that would also affect.
I think it's going to be a lot, because I don't think we're going to see Val in the playoffs at all. Like, DA is just not playing him at all. Even in the game where he played well, he didn't play in the second half.
Yeah, like every non-Jokic lineup will be a small ball lineup. So
we've actually seen 304 possessions of AG and Spencer on the floor without Yoke or Val. And most of the time it's AG at 5. There's a couple of lineups in here where like Zeke Naji has been in there, but I'm surprised because I just don't remember seeing a lot of it, but I guess we saw it earlier in the season. Yeah. Plus 2.1. So they're running about even, decent defensively, middle tier offensively. So that would be something that I wonder if we'll see more of in the playoffs. 300 possessions isn't nothing. Trying to think for a 2-man lineup, though, that's not a lot. But also, like, AG has missed so much of the season. I'm kind of surprised that we have even that much of that look, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. Then, if you guys have made it this far, you're our favorite people. And you should tell everybody that. Brag about it, in fact. We appreciate you the most. If you like our content, please remember to click the like button as well as the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on socials. All our links are in the description. We spend an inordinate amount of time on the Hell app, known as Twitter. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks. I hope they don't go on a losing streak after this. That would be so.
We won't. But we're continuing the winning streak.
Yeah.